Before we dive into this week's episode of Intoxicated, the return of Intoxicated, I want to give the biggest thank you ever to every single person who donated to the Intoxicated relaunch GoFundMe. This new and improved version of the podcast would not have been possible without you. So again, thank you so much for supporting this relaunch, and I hope you enjoy Intoxicated 2.0. Oh, hey, Internet! Welcome to the Intoxicated Podcast, a weekly comedy talk show that dives into the personal lives of comedians, experts, and creators. I'm your host, Sarah McClellan, a very amateur stand-up comedian and self-proclaimed sad girl. Every week, I dive into who people really are, the good, the bad, and everything in between. It's the comedy podcast with a lot of heart. Feel hard and talk hard. This is the Intoxicated Podcast. Oh, hey, Internet! I feel like I need epic music playing over this. Welcome back to the Intoxicated Podcast. Woo! It's been a while, but we are back. And normally, I do these intros alone, but I'm not alone. Not alone anymore. I have a partner in crime. I have a co-producer who I'm going to bounce off of, and I'm going to stop being awkward in intros because they're my least favorite part. But going forward, I've decided I want them to be fun. I want them to be natural. So I'm going to bring in my co-producer, Sarah Nicole.
Round of applause.
Here she is. She's a real person.
I'm real.
She has a face and she's a human.
I have a heart.
She is here to help me out. Yes.
Yeah.
So like, this is so crazy. This is the first intro and this is like the fifth time trying to do an intro, but we're here and we're in it now.
Got it.
We are in it now. Welcome to the podcast. I guess
Thank you.
You did a bonus episode with me, but this is your first time as co-producer on camera in an intro.
Weird. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me be a co-producer on this beautiful podcast.
It's a lot of power for one person to have.
Love it, though.
How does that make you feel?
Really intimidated, but like really good. As an Aquarius, I love that.
Oh my gosh. An Aquarius and a Pisces Taurus rising. It's a big fucking shit show. It's a shit show. But I mean, we are so excited to be back. This has been a long time coming. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And we're still figuring things out as we go. You know?
That's the glory of a relaunch, though. We're always figuring shit out.
It's the glory of the relaunch. And I never really liked doing the intros alone. I was always just like, this is the guest and this is what we talked about and here's all the plugs. And it was just, I used to dread doing intros. So going forward, these intros are going to be a little funner. We're going to have some banter. We're going to talk about our weeks,
Get into nitty gritty of everything.
Some nitty gritty. We hope to, answer listener questions, voicemails, stuff like that in these as well, just to kind of keep you guys updated about what's going on with us. Because the main episode is all about the guest, but sometimes I like to talk about me. And
me.
Sarah also likes to talk about her.
I like to talk about everybody,
So it's been a busy time, a busy week. So I got done a week of comedy shows and photo shoot for the podcast as well. By the time you're hearing this, you will have seen the cover art. I can only assume it's iconic.
It is. Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Just based on the proofs, it was iconic. So it's been a busy time. And I've been overwhelmed, if I'm honest.
Really?
I've been very overwhelmed, and Sarah
haven't noticed.
has been my sounding board during this time.
Not overwhelmed at all. What? Oh.
What's it been like for you being in the eye of the storm?
It's been fine. I mean, I've been in worse storms.
Okay, good.
So it's good. I like it. There's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Oh, that's
than
good.
in the eye of a storm.
I'm glad that you're like embracing your role, you know, Well, I'm glad to have you on board. I'm glad to have you as a sounding board and a friend. Above all else.
Friend.
You're a friend.
Of course.
But like you're gonna be helping me on this podcast journey. And guys, like I said, we're gonna try to get voicemails, questions from you guys. And speaking of voicemails, so we do want more audience interaction going forward with the podcast. And we want you to send us your questions, your stories, if you have an insane story that you think we'd get a kick out of. If you have rants, we would love to hear those. Any like, I love a life dilemma. Like, what do I do in this situation kind of questions. I really, really want to hear from you guys. And I know that that's like, it's a hard thing sometimes to get like listener engagement, but we want you to be part of this podcast too. So how can they reach us, Sarah?
Great question, Sarah. Well, you can email your questions to intoxicated@gmail.com. And also send us a voicemail because we would like to hear your voice rather than see your messages. So definitely send us a voicemail. You can do that. There's a link somewhere, I'm sure. I'm going to tell you where.
Link in bio, bitch.
Okay, so link in bio is what I was about to say. I was just testing you.
Link in bio, and we're also going to put it in the description of this podcast.
That too.
So you'll see a link that says leave a voicemail, and you can just record it on your phone. You just click a button, and you can record a voicemail. So it's very, very easy. Please send us voicemail.
Send us your voice.
Send us your voice. We want to hear
from you.
from
We're like Ursula,
you.
the sea witch, who just wants your voice.
Yes. But there's more that they can do, too. You know what they can do?
Listen.
Follow us.
Oh, that too. That's follow us on Instagram at Intoxicated
Podcast. Intoxicate Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well because, listen, let me tell you, if I'm going through all this stress of doing video, you better fucking subscribe on YouTube. Truly. Please put us out of our misery and at least give us a sub for all this stress about trying to look good on camera. You can subscribe on YouTube. So it is just youtube.com/intoxicated. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well. I've been gone for a while and I don't want to lose you guys. So please make sure that you do resubscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And you can leave us a review as well.
What's that thing that YouTubers say about the bell?
Oh, you gotta ring the bell.
No, wrong bell.
But it is, you ring the bell for notifications.
Oh.
It makes sure that you get notified when a new video gets posted.
Okay, ding ding then.
Ding, 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 ding. So do that. And reviews, baby. Can you leave a review on Apple Podcasts? Because again, Intoxicate's been out of the loop. And I'd like to get back up there. So I would greatly appreciate a Apple Podcasts rating and review as well. So this week's guest, this is the first episode back. We have an amazing guest. I am so excited for this because this has been a long time coming for her to be on the show. I've known her for a while. Actually, I think a solid year because I think Instagram memories brought her up when the first night I met her. So guys, this week on the podcast, we have Serena Haines. She is a somatic sex educator, a sex and intimacy advisor, and a pleasure advocate. So this
spicy.
This is the definition of coming in hot.
Yes.
With this new version 2.0 of Intoxicated. So Serena's amazing. First of all, she is a wealth of knowledge. We talked about so much stuff. I can't even, let me just pull up, the list right here. So essentially Serena, what she does is she really helps people get in touch with pleasure. And what I found interesting about this conversation was it's all about taking your pleasure. Your pleasure is yours to take, which I really love.
Taking pleasure is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like her in touch.
Was that?
It's literally in touch because she's talking about self-pleasuring herself.
Yes.
So I think that's a good pun.
So a lot of, like, we did talk a lot about self-pleasure.
I just remember her talking about cum a lot.
We did talk about cum a lot. We talked about, like, myths around pleasure when it comes to, like, men and women. Oh, sex drive. We talked about...
You got it.
We talked about sex drive.
Yeah.
And that was relevant for me because I currently just don't have one.
Yeah.
So I really liked hearing her insights into the sex drive thing. This was just like a TMI episode. This was the definition of TMI. I do apologize to family, coworkers. I would give a warning on this one because I don't think I talked too much about myself. But, you know, this is a spicy episode.
Yeah.
But Serena's one of my favorite women. She is, like, such a supporter of me and, like, just a cheerleader. And, like, I don't know, I gush a lot about her in the episode, so you'll hear it. But I can't recommend checking out what she does enough because she really is helping a lot of people kind of get in touch with pleasure. She does workshops, she does webinars and retreats. Like, she does all this amazing stuff, coaching, just general coaching sessions with people. So she does amazing stuff. And you can actually check out everything she does at serenahaines.com. Please follow Serena on Instagram. So her handle is Serena_Haines on Instagram. And definitely follow her and interact with the content because she does have a tendency to get shadow banned. And that's not cool. We don't want to shadow ban these amazing people doing awesome things. So please check her out. I loved this episode. This was a doozy.
I loved this episode too. I found a lot of I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Tell me more, Serena.
And we didn't plan to go as long as we did, but we did.
It didn't feel that long though.
Didn't feel that long.
Like it went by in a flash, and
we got carried away. Like we definitely like got on things and then, you know, soon realized, oh, it's been 2.5 hours.
It was at the 2 hour mark and I was like, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yes. But it was just so good and I hope you guys really, really like it. So it's so great to be back, you guys. I'm so excited to like get this thing back rolling. And I hope you enjoy the first official episode of Intoxicated 2.0 with the amazing Serena Haines.
I can be so indecisive. You can say all the right, sweet nothings. Good loving you gave, but your first mistake was trusting me with your heart rate. Some days I can't think straight. Don't take this the wrong way. Don't take this the wrong way. Hey, I've been up all night making lists, decoding patterns, and it's like you could be the one for me. But if I make up my mind this time, I'll be down. If I do, if I don't, I'll be down. If I do, if I don't, if I am for you, and you'll know when I'll be down. If I do, if I don't, babe, you can be so
Hey, everybody.
I can be so
This is so wildly weird. I don't know how to open this. I actually kind of forget how I open podcasts. But we are back on the Intoxicated podcast. First time in a long time. And guys, like, I'm so wildly excited for this guest. This week's guest is the amazing Serena Haines. Serena is a somatic sex educator, a sex and intimacy advisor, and a pleasure advocate. Welcome to Intoxicated!
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, this has been a
is
long
crazy.
time coming.
Yeah.
Such a long time coming. I'm so excited for this conversation because like you are just such an expert on so many topics, and this is gonna go all the places.
All the places.
All the places. And
Yeah.
we should actually fill people in, I guess, how we met.
Yeah.
So we met
At
Geneva's
matchmaking girls' night thing.
Was it
It wasn't
girls' night?
matchmaking. It wasn't
Yeah.
matchmaking. It was her and I did a thing together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a little get together with you and her, and we just literally just talked about sex with a bunch of women in a room.
Yep.
was like a round table.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of get everybody together, talk about sex, get it in the open. Because, I mean, she was doing like the dating thing. And sometimes when you're dating, you kind of got to open yourself up to being okay and open to those things. So having those conversations were really fun that night.
That was, and I just like loved you right away because you were so... Like, number one, very uncensored in how you talked. You were very sassy in how you talked. You were very confident in everything you were saying. And I do feel like when women talk about sex, we can get very like, ooh, like, you know, scared to say certain things.
Yeah.
Or
Good girls don't talk like that, Sarah.
Right?
Yeah.
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 So
that's
like,
what we do.
I adore your energy and like, yeah, it was just so good. And I remember meeting you and being like, yeah, I have to have you on at some point. And we had been talking about it for a while. And then when the podcast started to wind down, I was just like, well, she has to be one of the first people I can get back on.
Oh, God love you.
And I also will say, too, that, like, you are... Like, we haven't hung out that much, but you're such an insane supporter of mine.
I love you so much.
Oh, my God.
I'm almost like fangirling myself. I'm like, I watch all your videos and I'm like, come on, you can do it. Comedy set tonight. You got this. Or like you're having a bad night and I'm like, it's okay. I got you. I'm here with you in my jammies feeling like shit too. You're not alone. Like, I love it.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it is.
It's like peas in a pod. And we don't even know each other very well.
Peas in a pod. We'll share each other's stuff that we're doing. You, like, for both of my live shows, you bought, like, tables of tickets, even though you couldn't. This bitch bought a table at one of my live shows when she was having surgery on her cervix that day. And she said, I'm just going to buy a table and you can give it away to whoever wants it.
Yeah.
Who does that?
It's important. Listen, this is what we need to do for each other.
Yes.
People don't fucking do that a lot, right? They do it when there's something in it for them. And that wasn't the case, right? You were like, we'll do a giveaway. I'm like, no, just fucking give them away. Just give them away. That was for you, right? Like, that was so important that day. Sometimes things hit you and you either decide to act on it or you don't. And then sometimes you regret it and sometimes you forget about it, right? But I don't know where I read once or somebody said something to me once where they're like, what would happen if you just acted on all of the good things that you wanted to do? How would your life change? Right? So like you're driving by and you see like the homeless person and you think to yourself, oh, I wish I had a toonie. And you know, fucking full well there's a toonie in your purse if you just looked. Like look and get the toonie and give it to them. You'll feel better or whatever it is. So like that day it just hit me and I was like, do you know what? I'm doing this bullshit. Like this is it. You needed that and it was a big deal for you.
It is so important to find those people in your life. And you're certainly that for me. I'm that for you. Geneva is that for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that I've met so many women recently that are doing such cool stuff that I can get behind. Yeah. And even if it's not like, you know, if I could do one of your workshops, but I'll share it.
Right.
You know, there's all these things that you can do. To help build other women up. Yeah. And it's so important. Yeah. And like, I want to surround myself.
Right. And that's the thing is that you don't have to be there physically, right? Like I couldn't be there for those things. I can't be anywhere. I stay home with my kids all the time. Like I'm a mom of 3. I work from home. Like I don't get to go out often. So I see all of these things and I'm like, I want to support, but I can't be there. Right. I'm not just going to send you $10 and an EMT. Like I want to really support you and then get other people to come in and see what you're doing and, you know, all that stuff. So small business and, you know, local people and all that, that's all we can do for one another.
That's what we can do for one another. And I think, too, the beauty of podcasts and, like, the collaboration of a conversation, it's, you know, some of your people will come to me. Right. And some of my people will come to you. Right. You know, this episode, like, I rarely get responses on Instagram to questions, and I got some questions for the first time.
That's amazing.
So, you know, people want to talk about these things.
And they're opening up slowly. Sarah, Halifax is opening up slowly to the idea. If we dare say, the legs are spreading and everybody is getting excited. But it's a slow go, I'll tell you. We've got some conservative folk here, and that's okay. Yes. Right? And I think it's not just here, but of course I'm working locally, but it is hard to talk about sex. It is hard to have those conversations. It is hard to use the language and use all those things that people are like, oh, stop. You shouldn't say that out loud, you know? But I'm not stopping.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. And just so people kind of know, because I kind of went over your titles, can you just briefly talk about exactly what you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have a wild job.
Right. To say the least.
Let's hear it. Like what exactly do you do?
Okay. So let me go through the things that you write out, because that's the easiest way sometimes, because there's actually 3 different things that I can do, or more really. But as a somatic educator, I have the background and the education to work with what is happening inside of our bodies, right? So soma is like inside your body. So it's a little bit more holistic. It's where do you feel blockages? Where do you feel this? What's going on in your body? What's your vagina doing? What's your vulva doing? What's your penis doing? Like all of the actual physical parts of your body. And then I physically work on them. So I'm a body worker. So I can touch you and do things and all of that. Now that we'll get into that conversation in a little bit, because I'm not going to touch you all. Okay.
Serena, it's been a while. I'm not turn it down at this point.
So I do that. So I do one-on-one work, and I also teach couples how to work with each other
that's
somatically,
so cool.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And then as a sex coach, I work with other, like a little bit more clinical, like your erectile dysfunctions, or, anorgasmia, not having an orgasm. You don't know what's going on, stuff that's happening in your head. So we have like therapy almost. So I'm not a therapist, but it's done in such a way that it's like a therapy session. So it can be Zoom or one-on-one, and we just sit across from each other. There's a lot of talk therapy. People don't realize that sex work, sex coaching, sex advocacy, all of the stuff that we're working on has a lot less to do with the actual sex and a lot more to do with what's going on in your brain.
In your head. Yes.
It's huge, right? Like that is a huge factor in everything, from how you feel about yourself, to how you feel about your partner, to your background and how you learned how to talk about sex, and who told you that it was okay or not okay to touch your own boobs, or, do this or talk about this or say these words. So all that happens in your brain. So we do that a lot, and then it moves forward into actual sexuality and coaching the sex part, right? So I can do that. And then honestly, as a pleasure advocate, I really just think you should find anything that makes you happy. Like anything from, the feel of the fan that's on me right now, to like my lip gloss, to I had my makeup done today, to like I was at the beach earlier. All of those moments in time that sometimes we just let go because we're waiting for the next thing to happen, because we live in the past and we live in the future, and not many of us actually live in the present. We're waiting for something, or we're ruminating about what happened. So if we can manage to live in the present, then we can live in a pleasure state naturally. It's where your body wants to be.
Yeah, being present in your body and enjoying things.
Yeah. And
slowing down.
And it's so easy for me to say that, right? But I mean, like, you and I both know that is not fucking easy. That is not an easy thing to do. All right. So like, I'm also not one of those people that's like, everything's light and love and you're definitely going to feel pleasure if you just think pleasure. No, that's bullshit. It doesn't happen that way. Like, it is so intentional, and it is so hard sometimes to like sit back and take a deep breath. Even being here, for example, like, we're excited to be here, and I'm just trying to be like, just be in the moment. Right.
Yes.
I have a little fidget toy. Like, I always have to have something on me that I'm like playing with to keep me in the moment. So, it's intentional. You got to work on it.
Do you have any ADHD in you?
Undiagnosed. I
ding,
feel.
ding, ding. Join the club, Serena.
I feel like my husband would be like laughing his ass off right now, because he's like, she is a shithead. Like, I'm
feel like
all
this is
over
so
the
common.
place.
This is so like, so many women are, specifically women, because it's diagnosed way more in men.
Yeah. Because guess who I was growing up? I was the little girl who always had her work done, and I always got things. I was the teacher's pet. I was the this. I was the that, because I was so fucking scared of disappointing anybody, and I knew that if I didn't have everything right, that my head would go in other places. And with that said, I would also be the little girl who was like wrapped on the desk, because I'd be like off in a daydream, listening but not really focused, and everybody just thought that she was just the quiet girl in the back. But I was not just the quiet girl in the back. I was the girl in the back going, I don't know what you just said. I just zoned out for like 20 minutes and now I'm fucked. Like, I don't know what's going on. So now it's manifesting in a little bit of a different way, but I manage it now. Now I know a few things that I need to do. And I see it in my kids too, which is fun, because now I can kind of help them out a little bit.
You can understand it more.
I can understand it a little bit more. Back in the day, nobody was, not even boys were diagnosed with ADHD back when I was growing up. Right. They were just the bad kids they put in the back. Right? Like, it wasn't a thing. We weren't really paid attention to like that. But it's nobody's fault, because nobody really knew, right? So like, once you know better, you do better, you learn better, and you move on, right? So that's all. You
are so right.
Yeah, that's all.
That is wild. And we're going to open the show. So this is another new segment. Like, we have segments now, people. This is not just a shit show of a conversation anymore. This is a segment. So we're going to to start with what I think about you. So we're going to start with an assumption. We should figure out cool names for these segments. I don't know what a cool name for I guess it could just be the assumption segment. The assumption. You make an ass. What's that saying? It's like,
oh yeah,
yeah. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and
me. Yeah,
yeah.
The don't punch me in the face segment.
Don't punch me in the face. Ow.
We're so far away. You can assume anything about me, and I still can't reach you.
We can't reach each other. I'm actually realizing now that this is very COVID safe. Like we're at a good distance, so it works really well. So based on what I know of you, and mind you, I kind of know your answer to this assumption, but I'm just going to kind of assume for the audience as well. Okay. So like if someone were to look at what you do and like your Instagram feed and like what you post, I think people would assume that you fuck a lot.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Is that true? False? Is it sometimes true? What's it now currently?
I like to fuck a lot. I am also a married woman of 15 years, so sometimes I don't fuck a lot.
Right.
But yeah, I do. I do. And I like it.
True.
And I always did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I don't, I'm married, so, I don't fuck other people.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually a good thing to let us know.
So just for the record, but I do, I enjoy it. Yeah. That's a dicey one, Sarah. That's really interesting. You got me a little bit tongue tied here right now because the truth of the matter is the past couple of months, I have not fucked a lot. Mm-hmm. And my mental health is because of that, right? And it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just an ebb and flow of being in a long-term relationship, really.
I want to harken back to our pre-podcast call, which could have been a podcast in of itself.
Yeah.
When I told you the same thing, I was just like, it's been, God, I don't know when the last time was for me. Mm-hmm. It's been at least a year.
Right.
At least. But also, like, my sex drive is so incredibly low. And I remember, like, me going, I don't know why it's so low. And Serena doesn't miss a beat. She goes, well, honey, you're sad.
I did talk about not knowing somebody, but being like, girl, I was like, you're sad. You don't want to fuck.
She literally, like, but just the way you said it, it was just so honest. And, like, it was so, like, simple.
I meant it from my heart.
True,
like,
but true. Because you're right. Like, when things are going on with us mentally, like, it really does impact the sex drive.
Right. And then we think to ourselves, well, the sex is supposed to be fun and we should be having a lot of it. But if you're sad, the last thing you want to do is have sex. Maybe the biggest thing you should do is try to have as much sex as it makes us feel good, right? Mm-hmm. At some point, and neurochemically and stuff. But like, you don't even want to pull yourself out of bed, let alone make yourself look decent enough to kind of feel good about yourself, to get out there, meet people, and do all those things. And I think that's okay too.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting when you're feeling sad or down, or even if you have a goddamn headache, everyone just instantly goes to, well, touch yourself, masturbate.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to also understand that, like, yeah, sometimes that might work, I guess. Like, there's definitely been times in my life where I've leaned on masturbation for the serotonin.
Right.
But then it's, like, quickly gone, and you're like, what the heck do I do?
Right, what now?
So it's, like, an easy thing for people to say, but people don't realize that, like, some of us, it does take that, like, feeling good physically, like looking good and feeling like you look good, feeling yourself, as they say, or whatever. Yeah. It takes some time and effort.
Honestly, even if I'm in sweatpants and I still feel like I'm having a good day, like maybe I've just been productive that day or whatever, like I don't have to physically look, stereotypically good. But as long as I, have done something with my day, or I've read a book, or I've, finish all that 17,000 ADHD loads of laundry that I haven't done in like 7 weeks. Like if I've done something and I feel good about myself, then I'm like, cool, I feel a little bit like Randy. Like this is fun. Like, let's go do something, right?
Yeah.
But, sometimes you just don't. I'm not the sex coach. That's another thing. That was one of the assumptions people sometimes make too, is that if you come to me, I'm going to tell you to have all the sex. But the thing is, as a sex coach, it's my job to find out why you're not having all of the sex. And then what are we going to do about that? And then how are we going to get you somewhere? But if you come to me and you're just like, oh my God, I haven't had sex in 2 weeks. What's wrong with me? I'm going to be like, maybe you're just busy. Like, maybe you need some more water. Like, that's not a problem, babe.
2 weeks?
You know, sometimes, I mean, for some people that is a big deal. I'm not discrediting that. I'm not going to discount that, because for some people maybe it is a big deal, but we do need to get to the root of that problem, right? Like, why do you even think that 2 weeks is a big deal? Did somebody tell you that? Or you know, anyway,
yeah. Are you and maybe for men, I don't know if you think this, but like men are almost pressured more to be banging all the time, I think. I feel like.
Yep, they are. I have a lot of male clients, more than you would imagine. More male clients than female clients. Lately, it's been doing a little bit of a flip, which is great. And that's great. I knew from the very beginning that if I wanted to come out as a sex coach, as a sex educator, that it might take me having to draw the guys in visually and according to like, you know, whatever content I was putting out, to kind of wrap them into the conversation a little bit, because then once I find a lot of guys get into the conversation, then women will open up a little bit more. Women are harder to get in to talk about sex with a sex coach.
That's fascinating.
Or talk about sex at all, because good girls don't talk about sex, than guys, right? So it's a lot easier to kind of, you know, get the guys to come in and talk to me about, you know, blowjobs and cocks and all of these like words that everybody likes to use, because I love using them. But a lot of the women don't want to hear that. So it's kind of figuring out how to. Is
that a shame thing?
Everybody in. Definitely, I think.
The
shame,
Madonna horror complex.
Yeah, shame, culture, society. It depends on where you grow up, how you grow up, what's going on, and, you know, your circle, what you think is good, what you think is not, and the taboo topics, and who's going to question you and who's going to, you know. I get a lot of that.
God damn.
Yeah.
So, but men are coming out and asking for help, which is
So what I love
cool.
is that the men who generally come to me will say things like, "Yeah, I fuck a lot, but I know there's more. Like, I know there's more that I can do.
There's more.
Like,
here.
I fuck and I'm never satisfied. What the hell? Like, I'm fucking every night and I'm still not satisfied. I know there's got to be more to this." Because a lot of the guys that, you know, a lot of men in our society have been taught that their masculinity is rooted in their sex drive, and it's rooted in their big, hard, strong cock. And that's, you know, all of those things. And they really, some of them just want to be a bit softer. Some of them want to be loved a little bit more. You know, shocker. Everybody wants intimacy and love, right? But it's not as easily narrated for them. They don't really have the language. Yeah.
And for women, it's the other way.
So they come to me saying things like, you know, all he wants to do is have sex, and I just want him to love me. And I'm like, okay, I know, but here's the caveat, guys. Men show you they love you through sex, because that's how they've learned to show their adoration and their masculinity. Okay. So they show you they love you through sex. Also, they get their desire from you, from your reciprocation of that. So they put a lot of weight in the sex. So when you see that, you know, your guy coming at you all the time and slapping your bum or doing all of these things, what he's actually asking you for is a reciprocation to say, I appreciate what you're doing. I love you. Men feel desired when you say yes. But women feel desired when you don't want to have sex with them, and you want to have a conversation with them, and you want to get to know them, and you know, and all those things. So look at that. Look how we're on the opposite end of this orb rolling around. So it's not until we kind of start to understand each other's differences, because you're not going to change that, right? That's the thing. We're not here to change anybody. We're here to understand the other person's perspective. And this doesn't even have to be gendered, honestly. It can be any sort of partnership. But if you can see where your partner gets their love from and how they like to give it, then you can understand that partnership a little bit better.
Do you believe are you into love languages?
Yes, I do believe in the love languages. There are more now, though.
There's more?
I don't want to say the name in case I get it wrong. I should have looked it up. Somebody else came out with another way of describing them. It's another person. I believe they're non-binary. And instead of whoever did it, this is a terrible thing. I should have notes on this.
Oh, that's okay.
I think whoever wrote that book has been kind of called out on homophobia and things like that. So this other sex educator came in and did, I think it was like 16 love languages or something, because there are so many more. There's
way.
so many other things. Yeah, and I can't remember who it is, so I should tell you that
Oh wow.
after. I have names on the tip of my tongue, but I'm
We
not
can
gonna
even
say
like
it.
we can look it up maybe and do it in the intro. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Who did
It's
the
one of two
16.
people I know in my head, but I'm not going to say it in case I
Okay.
get it wrong.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like when I look at the love languages, I'm like, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
it would also make sense that there would be more too.
There's more,
You know,
right? Like those love languages are very, they're very general and they do work. I think they're really important, but you can have all 5 of those love languages,
Yeah.
right? So you just kind of have to know your partner. I always find that if I get people to explain to me how they show their partner love, okay, so, or even like a date, or even like if I was to ask anybody who's not even in a relationship, how would you show a person you were in a relationship that you really cared about them? Whatever their explanation is how they want to be loved.
Fascinating.
Right? So as soon as I can hear that, and let's say they're in a partnership, because I work with mostly couples, and they're in a partnership, then I can say, okay, Jack just told you how he would show you love. That's exactly how he wants you to show him love.
That's interesting.
Right? So it's the back and forth. We always give other people what we want. We are quite literally mirrors of things. Yeah.
Because sometimes when I think about love languages, I just go, well, when I'm into I've only dated 2 people, but like when I was into men, I did a lot of like acts of service. Like I was really big into that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think of myself, I just go, words of affirmation is my main one.
Right.
But I would say acts of service would be maybe my second.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
How
and
that
words
is.
of affirmation and acts of service are so very similar.
They really
because,
are.
Acts of service, we always think physical, but an act of service is also, giving someone those words that make them feel good. So it's also
It's an act of service in a way, giving someone
in
words.
a different way. Yeah. So they're all very similar, I think, if you really
What are
boil them
yours?
down. Mine are acts of service and quality time.
Oh, quality time is big too.
Yeah.
Can my love language just be all of them?
Right. Yes. And they can. So here's the thing. My husband's are generally words of affirmation and physical touch. So
Yes.
I don't like cuddling. I don't want anybody on me. I don't touch. I don't touch very much, which is odd because it's the first thing I will tell people, go touch people if you want to feel good. But I just don't give it naturally. I don't know why. And words of affirmation, I'm decent at that, but I'm just kind of quiet. Like I would thank you in a different way. I would thank you by just kind of, I don't know, silently appreciating you. I silently appreciate you, but that's not enough for him. Right. So I need to be very cognizant that that's what he needs. I like acts of service, and that doesn't have to be anything big. I'm not flamboyant. Like I don't like a whole lot of extravagant things, but like if the coffee's on in the morning, I'm like wicked. If I don't have to take the compost out and I didn't ask, I'm like sweet.
Taking out the garbage.
It's so easy. Even little things like I don't want my door opened. I don't need any of those things. I like flowers, but like I don't need that stuff. The quality time is definitely my biggest one.
That's like what I'm
Definitely.
also striving for.
Sit with me quietly, 2 or 3 feet away so we don't have to touch, and like watch TV or read a book or something.
Sit in the same room and be on our phones together?
Right.
That would be wonderful.
Isn't it funny?
That is my ideal
And let's just share
situation.
TikToks. Like I think that's a love language.
Oh my gosh, sharing TikToks is such a love language.
When I get TikToks sent to my DMs now, they're like dick pics. Like guys will send me TikToks now instead of like dick pics as like a flirt. And I'm like, oh my God, you thought about me. I just think it's so cute.
And it's like certain people, like Sarah and I, my producer, Sarah, we send each other TikToks all the time. Yeah, I love it. It's such a special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It used to be the memes, right? And now we're past the memes and now we've got to go video.
It's so interesting, like just these different dynamics and how they all work and how you have certain communication platforms with certain people and some people you only text with but you don't talk on Messenger with. Some people are like Instagram DMs are becoming such a thing.
Right.
Like I feel like
you can Instagram video. You can
Yeah.
Instagram video chat. I've done like client calls on Instagram video. It is super high quality.
It
It's
is. I guess they are really sidebar, but like Instagram is really ramping up to be a video platform.
I know. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not a video gal. I don't have a TikTok. I posted one reel yesterday. It was just my backyard, but I was like, woohoo, I did a reel.
Oh
I'm
my
so
gosh.
old school.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm so bad.
So another segment we have we're going to get into it now,
Okay.
is the rant segment. I need to rant. And because I think it's important to rant, because I truly think that we bond with each other over things we hate or that annoy us.
Right.
So, in this case, Serena,
Mm-hmm.
you have the floor. What is your rant for this episode?
No pressure. So honestly, when it comes to like people coming to me, mostly women, I'll be honest, mostly women will come to me and they'll ask me questions about, how to ramp up my sex life or how to do this or how to do that. And we're having these little conversations, but they're just pretty general conversations. I'll get a lot of, but what if he doesn't like it that way? Or like, what if like, should I shave my pubes or should I not shave my pubes? And I'm like, well, do whatever you want. And then it's like, yeah, but guys like it when it's shaved, right? And I'm like, who gives a fuck what guys think about your pubes? If he is not excited to be face first into that fucking Amazon, find yourself a new man.
My laugh. Like Albert Coombs says, my laugh is like chopping wood.
I
just laugh forever.
cannot stress that enough. And that goes for anything, you guys. Like, oh, well, he only likes it when I wear this, or they only like it. Now, that's not to say that these people who are saying that are bad or controlling or anything. That's not what I'm getting at. If we don't have the agency over our own bodies, this is the fucking foundation of sexual pleasure, you guys, is having the sovereignty to say, this is who I am, this is my body, this is what I like, this is how I'm going to shave my pubes or not, or grow a bush or whatever. And if you don't like it, that's cool, because if that's enough to get you out of my life, then you weren't supposed to be there in the beginning.
Damn.
That's my rant. And now that's, that person who really likes shaved pubes and you don't, they're going to go find somebody with shaved pubes and they're going to live happily ever after. That's totally cool.
Also, if they require that, that's so limiting.
It is. But you know what? Everybody has their thing. So if it is a requirement, cool. I'm not going to say you should be better. No, if you require something, cool. You're going to find somebody who wants to really give that to you, because that actually brings them pleasure to give that to you, right? In long-term relationship, we do a lot of compromising. So like, that's not a big deal. Like, that's part of all of this. But in that moment, if somebody looked at me and was like, I only like it when you wear your hair in a ponytail, I would be like, fuck off. Or I only like it when your pubes are shaved. I'd be like, if you don't want to suck this clit the way it is, I don't want you in there. Period.
Yes.
That's a big rant of mine. That's a big one.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because like, I've been thinking so much lately about specifically heterosexual relationships, and how so much is put on the guys, like comfort.
Right.
And
exactly
making the guy happy. Yeah. And
I just had a couple come into me, and she wanted to learn how to have sex better. And I was like, okay, well, we figured out what that meant. And she wanted to learn how to ride her husband. And I was like, cool, I can help you with that. And then she said something to me like, I said, lean forward a little bit so you can get your clit. And we talked about, different positions and things like that. And she looked at me and she was like, yeah, but he wants me to like bounce up and down on it. And I was like, I don't give a fuck what he wants. Are you getting your nut or not? Like, what are we doing here? He's going to, and then I look at him and he's sitting there going, yeah, I don't give a shit how she rides me. Like, right? I don't give a fuck.
This is the thing.
We think, this is the thing, guys, we are not man bashing. Here's the deal. We women in heterosexual relations, we think we're supposed to do all these things, but they are just happy to be there.
Yes. That's just, isn't that wild?
Right?
How much time we spend, like, literally, like, just psychoanalyzing, like, what am I going to look like? Is my double chin going to show? And, like,
they don't care.
They literally don't care.
Richard,
can you confirm?
They're just so happy to be there. They want to be there. I saw something the other day and it was so true. I was like, baby, they saw your rolls before you got naked. Like, they knew you had them before you got naked. Your clothes are not that good at covering that shit up. Like, strip off and get down with it, because that's what partners want. Partners in any sort. They want partners who are going to like get into their pleasure, which kind of leads me to the next segment. But they want people to like get in. Everybody wants that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And how do you just, when you have those moments with women, do you just literally tell them, who cares? Like, do you just try to, I love that.
Yes, I do. I'm just like, and especially if the couple is right there, like you can see the guy looking at her kind of like, I don't care what you do. And I'm like, look at him right now. He's got this little like grin on his face because I said the word riding his cock. And he's just like, that's awesome.
I was just going to say, it's like a scene from Game of Thrones.
Right. Like nobody cares, man. Or like, I'm going to break it if I go this way or go that. I'm like, you're not going to break it. He'll tell you if you're going to break it, and you're not going to break it. And he's going to love it to the very last second of breakage. Yeah. He's going to keep you going because that's what he wants. And you're doing a great job, right?
Yeah.
But we don't think that we do a great job when it comes to that. We've got a lot of reasons for that, right? There's societal pressures and cultural pressures. And then there's porn. We can have an entire podcast about porn, which I love, by the way. Like, I think porn is fantastic. I just think that we have an odd view of how to maybe use it and how to not. So if you sat down and you drank 4 liters of pop a day, that pop would probably not be good for you. So if you sit down and you masturbate to porn and hardcore porn, like, okay, do we want to get into this right now? Okay. So the idea that, we hear, yes.
Let's get into it.
Okay. So we hear like a lot about like porn addiction and sex addiction and all that stuff. And we'll leave that over here on the table a little bit because it's very nuanced. So I won't get into that a whole lot, except to say that it's not a diagnosed disorder, a porn addiction or a sex addiction. Okay. It's a little bit of a different thing, more of a compulsion. So what happens with pornography though is, back in the day, when men my age were just getting into porn, they had to still go get a magazine or download the porn. I'm older than Google, so quite literally, there was no Google when I was growing up. So like high-speed internet wasn't even a thing. So it was dial-up internet and all the rest of it. Okay, so like it was a big deal. So men had to like find, or women, I mean, we're just going man, woman right now, but they had to like find their porn and look at their porn, and it was a still shot. So they still had to use their brains a little bit. They still had to use, anybody who's looking at it, you still had to use your imagination.
Yeah.
Right? You might be looking at the big old Playboy on your ceiling, but at the same time you had to imagine what it was like to suck her titties, and you had to imagine what it was like to see them bounce, and you had to imagine what it was like to open her legs. You had to imagine these things. So your brain is working. Your brain is your biggest sex organ. Fast forward a little bit, and like today, for example, we could pull up 17,000 porn sites with just sexy girls and press images, and that's it. You've got GIFs going and you've got everything going. So the more when you use the word desensitize, it's more like you desensitize your brain to just having to use your imagination to work. So now we're being fed the information just like anything. It's no different than a video game or just anything that you would find on the internet. So we're being fed all of this information. And so you start out looking at the pretty girls, and then you look at the pretty girls with the other pretty girls. And then you look at the pretty girls with the boys, and then you keep going up. And the next thing you know, because you have to get more stimulation, okay, because our brains are neuroplastic. So we learn different things, but we have to push farther. It's like going to the gym. If you want to get bigger, if you want to get stronger, you got to lift heavier weights every time. You've got to go longer every time. You have to condition your body. So we start conditioning our brains to be fed the information. And the next thing you know, you go from this all the way to anything what you would consider hardcore, right? That depends on who you are, right? But like, let's say from there, now you're looking at like, doms torturing their little cum sluts in cages, and this is the porn you're masturbating to. Now you take yourself out of that, and then you go hang out with the girl that you just met, and you're trying to like get it on with her, and guess what? You can't get your dick hard
because she's not in a cage.
Because she's not in a cage, and she's not your cum slut
yet.
So you don't, right? So like this is how the porn problem, and I say problem because I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just an awareness comes in, right? So if we can kind of scale that back, or I tell people to use it to just practice with porn, like use it, but then sometimes don't use it, right? Like I tell the women, I say, look, you've got your your vibrators, great. Anybody with a clit who uses a vibrator, fantastic. But we got to go a cappella. If you want to be able to have an orgasm with a partner without a vibrator, you need to practice doing it without a vibrator by yourself.
You know what? Thank you, Serena,
Yeah.
for saying that. Because I think it's such a huge trend right now.
Yes, of
to
course
make
it is.
having sex toys part of your personality.
Yeah. And you know what? It's great because the pendulum has swung from one end where women weren't allowed to have sex at all or even think about it to the other side where we're like, I don't even need a man. I got 17 vibrators, which is great. But
yeah.
if you're
Big but.
so used to having a vibrator in 2.5 minutes, just go zzz, and you come all over the place, which is fucking fantastic, guys, like have at it. I'm not one to tell you that that's not a good thing. However, practice a little bit without it. You know, kind of, I don't know.
I prefer it without it.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
That's kind of an unpopular opinion.
That is an unpopular opinion.
I would rather just the
I don't
hand.
use toys. Generally, I don't use toys. I have 2 toys at home. I love a sucking vibrator.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Satisfier.
Yes. Yeah. So I love the little Satisfier.
Well, that's
and I
just
have
like
a
a
wand.
different experience altogether.
It is.
That is that's like air pulse. What is it called? Air pulse technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally like a human could never do that.
I don't know. I've met a few humans who can do it.
You were so lucky.
Just saying. But you're right. You're right. It is different. It's different.
It's
I love
next
it.
level.
If I was to say to anybody like, if you were going to get any sex toy at all, get an air pulse. Yeah. Get an air pulse. Only because I do find that it can be more easily replicated by a human, first of all, regardless of if they're doing oral or even manual. I just find that the sensation is just a little bit different because the vibrating, like your partner doesn't do that. Not even the heavy rumble of like a wand. Not many partners, some partners can like try to replicate it, but they can't really, right? So if you just know how to do both, it's kind of like just being a well-rounded player.
It's like, you know what it is? I just thought of a metaphor. It's like when you learn to drink black coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then you can enjoy all kinds of
Then
coffee.
you can enjoy all the coffee.
But like if you're someone who only needs like 5 sugar, 5 cream,
Right.
like you're never like
That's true, yeah.
What if you travel and go somewhere where they only do strong?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Okay. So, and there's not that many options, but I always also say that I think everybody should know how to drive a standard.
same thing, yeah.
Right? I'm like, if you know how to drive a standard, everything else is gravy.
How are these bitches gonna survive a zombie
How
apocalypse?
are you going to do it?
If their toys all
if
die?
you don't know how to ride a stick, drive a stick, how are you going to survive the zombies?
I actually listened to a podcast recently where it was Whitney Cummings and her husband. Oh fuck, I forget his name. Why am I blanking on his name? But they have a podcast, the Endless Honeymoon podcast, and someone called in with a secret, being like, one time I actually like rubbed up against my like the shift thing in a car and made it happen. I was just like, you want to know what? I respect that.
There was like
I
don't know if it's an old wives' tale or I don't know if it was meant to like scare the shit out of us when we were all doing ecstasy back in the day. But like I heard a story and I thought it was like one of those like, did you hear about so-and-so the other night? Like something local, right? Where they were like, yeah, she like almost killed herself because she rode her stick like in her car because she was so fucking horny. And I gotta be honest, I looked at it and I was like, bravo. Because mine was pretty round. Like I had a big ass stick in my Sunfire, my 96 Sunfire.
Yeah.
My little red 2-door zipping around town.
Yeah.
But like it was pretty big and I was like, all right, girl, have at it. Like if
Have
that's
at it.
where you're going, go.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think I say fucking do what you want, but I do think there's so much value in learning the bare basics.
Yep, definitely. In anything, right? Like that's like in anything. So I will always ask women when they come to me and they say they can't have an orgasm with their partners, how many toys do you have? How often do you masturbate? It could be one or the other. It could be I masturbate every single day with a toy or I don't masturbate at all. So both of those things can be troublesome to orgasming with a partner. So yeah, we work on both of them. Yeah.
And do a lot of them say like I have 12?
No, usually it's like they've got the one, and like the one has a nickname, and like me and Nick hang out, and I'm like, who's Nick? And they're like, my wand. Like we name it, and all that kind of stuff. So like most women have like their favorite toy.
Favorite one. Fuck, it's been so long since I've used any of them.
Yeah.
I'm like really neglecting them.
I'm excited for the Satisfier Pros to come in.
You're excited for what?
Well, I got 5. I ordered.
Satisfiers.
Yeah, I ordered some Satisfiers and I sold them all. Thank goodness. Like it was, everybody was just like, I'll take one, which was great because I don't sell toys generally, but sometimes I'll get a shipment in.
Yeah.
And anyway, I had them, but I saved one for myself. I was like, you were not getting the 5th one. I'm taking the 5th one.
Yeah. And they also have those like pocket, like the mini versions that you can travel with.
Yeah. It's called a one night stand.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my God, funny story. Okay. I got a one night stand because I wanted to know what it was like. So it's this little tiny thing and it's probably only about that big. And it's like a one-time use, but it's not one-time use, but it's a non-rechargeable. So it says on it like some very specific 27 minutes of pleasure. And
No
I'm
way.
like, okay, 27. I can get like, I was like, how am I doing the math? Like how many tricks can I get out of this thing? So I did. I used it a few times and it died. And I went to go throw it in the garbage. And my husband, God love him, he was like, hang on a second. And didn't he crack it open? And he saw that there were 2 AAA batteries in it. He replaced the batteries, electric taped it up, and he was like, here you go. And I'm like,
oh my God.
yes. Anyway, I got 27.
That shit.
I got 27 more minutes out of that kid.
You could
It
just
was
add
wicked.
rechargeable batteries to that.
You could just add batteries. Yeah, it was amazing.
Although I guess I gotta get the toys that plug in the wall.
Oh, get the good ones. I mean,
Yeah.
I got this one just to kind of see
That's
what it was like.
so cute.
I wanted to like, because it was like $25. Like,
Oh.
this is the thing, guys. Like when you're going out to get toys now, I just came off the rant of like, don't use the toys, just use your hands. And we can do things manually. And I think it's important. But when you are going out to get a toy, yeah, the expensive ones, high quality ones are going to give you the best bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
But there are little ones out there that you can invest in just to see if it's even something that you want.
Dude, the first vibrator that I had was the cheap. Do you remember the ones that were like the cheap ones that like you had to twist the bottom? for it
Oh
to
yeah.
turn on?
I have one. I actually used one of those the other day. I have an old
They
one.
were great.
Yeah.
They're loud as fuck.
They are loud as fuck. I had to
they're
put
good.
music on. I put music on under my door. All my kids were home. I take my phone. And I'll turn music on and I'll slide it right next to my door, like my bedroom door. And then I'll go in the bathroom and I'll shut that door and I'll turn the water on. I'm like, it's a big production.
It's like you're having a shit in a bathroom.
When I need to go, I need to go. I'm like, there's no, like, we don't have time for fucking around here. Like, when it is time now. Mama's taking this right now. And I do. And, you know, because that's life sometimes. Like, sometimes you really just have to bang
get
it out.
that moment in.
Just gotta bang it out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
We've come so far with sex toys. It's really quite.
Oh, it's
wild.
fascinating. Yeah.
What is out there? Like you just peruse sites. You're just
Everything.
like, what are these things?
Yeah. There's so much.
And that reminds me of a rant because your rant is now giving me a rant, which is I freaking hate it when people say, "Oh, you haven't had sex in a while? Just get a new sex toy."
No, it's not the same.
It's not the fucking same.
That's not what you're complaining about. That's not what you're worried about. That's not what you're upset about.
So many women say this to me, and I just go, "What?"
Yeah.
Like,
It's not the same. Like sometimes we want to have sex with real people too. There's something about that, right? Like we can. Okay, listen, this goes back to like the guys who come in and tell me that there's more to sex than just getting their nut. Like, and they know that there is. Even for us, like there's more to it. I mean, like we can have our orgasms with our toys all to pieces, but it doesn't replace the real thing if you want to have that human contact.
This is what I'll say. There is a device that I could probably get that would replicate as close to what I want as possible, which is the Louisiana Lounger.
Okay, what? Is that like
It's
the thing?
just a fuck machine.
I was going to say, is that like the cowboy thing that you get on and you ride it? Does it look like a bull, like a bull, like a
It's like
mechanical
something that
bull?
you would sit on, but it fucks you.
Like it fucks you.
Yeah.
You don't have to fuck it.
You don't have to fuck it. It like does the
Yeah. Does the whole thing?
It does. Like, because for me, really truly the best thing is for me to just be on top with a guy. That's the number one go-to.
That is probably the
will
general
work every
consensus,
time.
yeah.
So like I feel like if I got something like that, it would get me close to there, but then like I don't have a person to look at. So
Right.
that kind of sucks.
Or like hold you or touch you or,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of, you know, enjoy that pleasure with.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hump pillows. That's not the same.
Oh, that's how I started. That's like
That's how most of us started.
that's how so many girls start.
Or you know those like round swings, like the plastic ones?
Oh, you
like,
sit the other way?
riding them sideways. What are you doing? I'm just at the playground. When are you coming home? I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God, this leads me into Well, okay. Well, we're just going to quickly talk about this. Just the fact, and you're the expert on this, but how the clit is such a huge organ.
Oh my God, it's so big. I didn't bring my clit. I should have brought my clit.
I should have reminded you to bring it.
Should have brought my clit.
Can you explain to people who might not know? And maybe in post, I'll put a picture of the internal right here. I'll put it. We're kind of grown up to think like that tip area is the main show.
Right.
But it's not the main show.
Well, you know what? It's the main show.
Okay. It is. Yeah.
So it is the main show. So that's the glands of the clit. Okay. So the easiest way to explain things like this to people is to compare it to a penis. Okay. One of these days, we're not going to have to do that. And that will be a glorious day. But we all have a lot more knowledge about the anatomy of a penis than we do female anatomy. It's just the way it is. So the head of a penis, it's relatively large generally, and you can see it. It's right there. That is the equivalent to what you see on your clit. That little pea, that little nub that you see under the hood. Yeah. So the hood of your clit is the foreskin. Okay, so we have a foreskin. We have that. On the inside, it's probably maybe the size of my palm, right? Not in total, but like the whole thing. So like the head of the clit would be here. And then you have these like wishbone arms that come down about the size. I always say to use my face. It's like the glands is my nose. And then you have these little legs that come down. And it's about the size of from where my nose is to the bottom of my mouth. Like if I was to take my clit and put it on my face, which would be super fun if I could do that. But I can't. But if I did that, it would probably sit like here. Right? So it's relatively large, but all of that is on the inside. Yeah. So under your labia, if you can feel, you can actually push down and you feel kind of like, it's kind of like going over a tendon or a ligament. Like you can kind of feel it. Yeah. And those are the legs of your clit. Also, under your pubic bone, and we can all do this right now. If you, everybody play along. If you touch right above where your lips come together, so where your clit is, but on your pubic mound and push in on the bone there, you'll feel like a where your bones come together. There's a little opening there and it goes ding, 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 ding. Underneath there is where the neck of the clit goes back into your body. Okay. So you can actually feel from your clit back, it goes back into your body and then down and around. So what you see is your clit on the outside, and then under your labia is where your clit is on the inside. So when you're being penetrated, you're actually having the legs of your clitoris stimulated. And when you're being stimulated on the outside, you're having the glands of your clitoris
Which is why on top is so awesome.
Exactly, because you're getting all that grinding and the entire complex is being stimulated. Also, when you're getting fingered or you think about the G-spot, you're actually stimulating the entire clitoris and the urethral sponge when you
hang on. Urethral sponge?
It's a big word. So it's the spongy tissue that wraps around your urethra. Your urethra is where you pee from, right?
Yes.
That goes all the way in and up to your bladder. So the sponge wraps around it, kind of like if this is where you pee and this is the tube that goes up into your bladder, there's spongy tissue, like spongy tissue in a penis that fills with blood wrapped around the urethra. And when you stimulate that, you stimulate what's called your Skene's glands. And that's how some people can squirt and some people don't squirt.
That's what I was going to ask you. Okay.
Some people do, some people don't. We all have the body parts to do it, but some people do and some people don't. That's just it, right? Some people...
It's like wisdom teeth.
Right. Right? Some of them come up, some of them don't. That's a really good one, right? Like it's all there.
Yeah.
But not everybody either knows how or can, or it just sometimes doesn't work properly.
So then, is it pee?
A little bit. It's mostly prostatic fluid. So our G-spot is our prostate gland.
Yeah.
Like, men have a prostate gland.
That's
we always
their
talk
G-spot.
about that.
Yeah.
That's their G-spot. Well, our G-spot is always compared to their prostate. But the thing is, ours is also a prostate. So when it's stimulated, I'm not sure of the fact. I think it's like 80% prostatic fluid and like 20%, maybe 15% glucose. And then whatever's left inside of your urethra, because it kind of, some of it can get like retrogradely pulled into your urethra because your Skene's glands kind of emits this fluid, then it'll come out with pee. Now, with that said, there are not a lot of studies on this yet. And the studies have also shown that through MRI, a woman who pees completely before stimulation, goes into stimulation with her G-spot, her bladder fills up exponentially fast and she expels from her bladder. But is it pee or is it not? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. You can't just fucking test this shit?
Right? So they do. They do.
Why
they
are we
find
testing squirt?
Right? They find traces of urine. They say traces of urine.
Traces. Okay.
Traces. But it's not complete urine. But I'll tell you, there have been times that I've squirted and I think it is urine. So I think it may be, it just depends on the day. It depends on how hydrated you are.
Just like, sure. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Because I've heard that the sensation feels like peeing.
Yes, it does. It does. So listen, if you have a clit and you have a G-spot and you feel like you need to pee, keep going.
Keep going.
Just keep going.
But also let go, right?
Let go. Bear down. Like, don't push bear down because that's not letting go. Just allow. Allow is a really good word, right? Also, a lot of people, when they're actually being penetrated, they will not squirt. It's almost like a hose that's bent. There's too much pressure on the hose. So it's not until you release that you squirt.
Wow, fascinating. See, this is
so
why
have you ever watched the porn? The porn,
yeah.
like they're like jacking away at the porn, but they don't squirt until the dick comes out. And then you see it all.
Oh.
Generally speaking.
See, I don't feel like I'll ever be able to do it because I can't even pee in the ocean.
Oh. That's my favorite place to pee. That's like,
I don't know, like I've had to pee when I've been out swimming in the ocean, and even my friends who I'm with are just like, just do it, we'll back away a bit. And I'm like, I don't know why, I just can't relax enough to like let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Fair enough. But that would be practice that you could do for yourself.
Maybe if I practice peeing in the ocean,
then you'd be able to squirt.
Maybe. But
it's just that moment of letting go. That's the key. It's mental. Right?
I gotta ask you this though: is there a way to learn on your own without a partner?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
The satisfier will help with that.
The satisfier will help with that.
Mm-hmm.
I squirt without any penetration.
How
at
the
all.
heck?
I just use my magic wand, and it goes directly on my clit, and I squirt.
No way.
Yeah, and it's not like in the pornos, you guys. Not all the time. Like, you're not going to hit the back wall with it. Sometimes you're just going to dribble a little bit, and that's okay too.
Little dribble.
Seriously, so some people actually squirt and they don't even realize it because they'll squirt during sex, right? So like, let's say you're riding, because I'd be riding, you'd probably be riding, and you're doing the thing, and then of course you've got a dick in you, so you're not gonna squirt because of that.
Because it's plugged.
Because it's not plugged. It comes out of your urethra, but
right.
You know what I mean? Like there's pressure there.
Yeah.
But the second that you come off, I've had moments where I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit, you came a lot, you know?
Right.
But it's not all cum. Some of it is actually squirt fluid that is just kind of coming out, and it just kind of feels a little bit watery. Right? Because you don't orgasm and squirt at the same time. You can, but you can also orgasm and squirt.
Then squirt.
Or squirt with no orgasm at all, period.
And it's really just like a nice feeling. It's
just a nice, relaxing feeling. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if... I think it felt like when my water broke on my second kid. Like, that's the way it feels like. But it is lovely. Like, it's a lovely feeling. It's like warm. And
a relief, refreshing.
It's a relief. It's kind of like really nice. But it's not something that I need for pleasure. At all.
Yeah.
Like when I've had people in my past be like, I'm going to make you squirt. I'm like, oh, please don't. Like, you don't have to, babe. Like, I would rather cream than squirt. Like, I don't want the mess.
I would rather cream than squirt.
I don't need it. Like me, some people, they love it. They love that feeling. I personally don't need it. I don't want it. And if you tell me you're going to make me come, rest assured, I'm not going to come, for the record.
Oh.
That should have been my other rant.
Ooh, that is a big rant.
Yeah, because that helped right in your head, right? You get right in your head. You're like, oh shit, okay, I was almost there, but now I got to go faster. Now I got to make it a big deal, and now I'm like, you're all up here, and you're like, it's gone.
And I hate the phrase "come for me."
Come for me,
unless you edge. So I love edging.
Yeah,
and I love being denied, and then permission.
Right.
It works in that case.
Yes. Yeah.
But when it's right out the gate,
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah. No, I'm not going to come for you. Well, that's another.
Come for me, bitch.
I was going to say that goes along with like the whole shave your pubes for me. No, fuck you. I will come for me. I'm going to come for me. Are you coming for me? No, you're not. You're coming for you.
No,
and that's
most of them
okay.
come so soon that like
That's okay.
Yeah.
You can come for you and I can come for me. But you're right. In context, being told you have to come or you should come or you're not allowed to come is very lovely.
Yeah, in the right context.
In the right context.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
subdom.
Yep.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I do actually love. Edging is one of my favorite things ever. As long as you just don't. I have a joke about it. It's like edging is not getting up and leaving. Like
No.
like edging isn't. It doesn't count if you get up and leave and drive home and never make.
Right. And then like come back next week and try again. That's not
Yeah.
how it works. Like it's over and over and over and over.
Yeah, it has to happen within the session. But
Right.
just I do think that there's a cool thing with prolonging.
Yeah.
And
Now
then
some
allowing it.
people, if you edge them too long, some people with clitoris, if you edge them for too long, it will go away. So be aware of that. If you guys like, if you're going to try edging, do it, try it, but just understand that in that experiment, that some people can only be edged like twice before their body kind of goes into a little refractory. And it, it's just kind of this moment, because the thing with people with clits is that our orgasms are a little, I don't want to say they're different, they're relatively the same, but your orgasm is a mental, it's a neurological event. Your orgasm actually happens in your head. Like any sensation, any pain, like I feel it, I think I feel it in my arm, but that's actually happening in my head, right? When you get any sort of
full body sensation.
Right. So it happens in your head. You can't really stop that from happening. What was I getting at? What was my point?
Oh.
What was I saying? Edging.
Thank you, Sarah.
Stopping. What? Refractory period.
Okay.
Edging. Mental. Oh, right.
Mental.
So it's a mental thing. So we think that we're going to feel this like explosive orgasm all the time. But sometimes you can actually have the orgasm and kind of not even register.
It's just like,
Seriously. So I like a lot of the time,
nice.
yeah, it's like, what was that? Because I talk to women sometimes and they'll say, I don't orgasm or I don't have big enough orgasms. And they rate their orgasms, which is another thing I don't love. And I try to like scale back a little bit because like, guys, we rate ourselves on so many scales. Like, let's let our orgasm just be. I don't give a shit.
let's let it be what it is.
Just let it be what it is. But it could be anything from just getting a little extra wet to feeling just this release, not squirting, but just a release, but not this crazy orgasm, to just feeling like you're done. Like, have you ever just been in sex and it's been good sex, it's been great sex, and you don't orgasm, but you're kind of like, I'm good. Like, I'm done. Like, you quite literally all over your body, you would have to start from scratch to get me there again, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not mad about it. So people confuse that with I lost it to, oh, it must have happened, because sometimes it can happen like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow,
all the different.
You're just
kinds
not
of
present.
orgasms. Yeah, just all the different kinds of orgasms that you can have. Now, those full body orgasms that we talk about, like our clit. Here's a little nerdology for you. Our clit and our nipples follow the pudendal nerve through our bodies into our brain. And that kind of, if you want to think about like a visual, it gives you like the tight, heavy breathing, heart rate goes up, kind of like kind of sex, okay? Which is what we think we do. That's what we think sex is. Our G-spot and our cervix, and we have a couple of little pleasure spots up inside of there, actually follow your vagus nerve, which also is what your anal pleasure follows. And your vagus nerve, even as I talk about it, is the one that calms us and relaxes us. It's what deep breathing does. It's what we stimulate in yoga. It's what we stimulate when we like take those deep breaths. So here's your somatic nerdology for you, is that if you take really deep breaths, we calm your nerves, right? You calm your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your vagus nerve. It's this nerve that wanders around your body and it kind of is everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. So if you stimulate that, this is the bear down. This is the relax. This is the release you talk about when you're squirting. You have to allow that to kind of happen. And that gives you this all over body orgasm, because you have this nerve that travels through your entire body being stimulated, where your pudendal nerve just goes straight up to your brain. Right. So that one activates your parasympathetic nervous system or your sympathetic nervous system. So you're like, and your breath gets heavy and you clench up and you have these like genital orgasms, right? Where your clit is on fire. But your other orgasms are the ones where you're just like,
Yeah, can't feel the toes.
Can't even talk, right?
Tingly toes.
Yeah, and you feel like, personally, like I just feel like a wild woman. Like those are the ones where like I don't give a shit who's under me. I'm like eyes up, like rolled in my head. I'm just like it doesn't matter. There's no like you don't even like exist right here right now because like I can't. Yes. I'm so in the moment, right?
Yeah.
But the genital orgasms, you can kind of stay in the moment a little bit more, maybe perform them a little bit more. We perform our orgasms a lot sometimes. Right. And not all orgasms are like that. Some people orgasm very silently. I feel really bad. Go ahead.
Did you hear about why we yell so much during orgasm?
Why? What do you mean?
In the olden times or the caveman times when a woman was getting fucked, essentially you had to like be very vocal and loud so that other men knew that this bitch is getting fucked. When that guy's done, I'm gonna go fuck her. It was like a biological thing,
like a call, like a sex call,
mating, like a mating
call,
a sex call, because the woman needs to get pregnant,
right?
So the more men that come in her,
yep, and that's the way it used to be,
yeah.
And so women would be like, they would be like, come on, because the strongest survive. And she wanted to have the most virile kids. You want to have the kids that survive. So you got to like, you jam yourself in with all the cum so that one of them can survive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll just, I wonder, like, yeah, they probably wouldn't have been able to know who the father would be.
Not at that point.
You would just
that
be like,
really
well, it doesn't matter. I
matter.
still got pregnant and you still spread your seed everywhere.
And the thing is, back in those kind of days and up until we really started like farming and agriculture came in and people owned land and there was a lot of owning and less wandering, people didn't care because this is where it takes a village kind of came from, because a woman would have an offspring and then the village would take care of that. And that still exists in many, many, many parts of the world.
Yes.
It's just our Western, not just our Western society, but our Western culture that is all about like, consumerism and the capitalism and the, I own this and that, you put a ring on it so that that you're not feeding somebody else's baby.
Oh my
right.
gosh.
Back in the day. That is like back in the day, like where it kind of all started is when we stopped wandering and started settling. People were like, well, if this is my farmland and that's your farmland and I get this woman pregnant, but you're off, then like whose baby is going to come and take my land is it going to be your baby that comes and takes my land? No, I gotta nail her down. Like,
whoa,
this one's mine. This one is mine to procreate with. You go get your own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the ownership of women came from. And we have internalized that for centuries. So that's the
whole marriage thing
whole
and
thing.
Asking fathers for permission.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were still paying dowries. And that's just a really, really nice word to say, I'd like to buy your daughter.
Oh my God.
I would like to buy your daughter so I could have sex with her because you're really cool and you've got lots of money and I'm really cool and I got lots of money. So you give me yours and we can share all of our money and here, right? But like, I can't sell my body for sex now, but back in the day I could sell my 12-year-old to you. Sorry, this is getting dark.
No, I love this. Though.
Right? But that's really where it came from. We internalize that. All of us do. Like all humans, like it's in us, right?
Yes.
That is our history. And it is kind of how evolution happened. I'm sure there are other nuances. Please don't come at me with the facts. Like I get it. Like there's lots of, other details, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But that's the general idea of where all that kind of came from.
And the whole like take my last name thing.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
That one's mine.
Ownership.
Right? So it's a really big deal when a man these days wants to take a woman's name, and we don't really get into why, but that's why, because it's giving up, your masculinity, because now what do you mean your woman owns you? Like that's the underlying current of that, right? And nobody would really come out and say that. They'd say something different. Like, why would you do that? Like, why are you taking her name? Or why didn't she, like I took my husband's name, but I didn't even hyphenate. I just added on, but I kept my last name.
Yeah.
So I'm a Adhd Haines is my name, and I won't get rid of my name because it's my name. It actually took years for me to even call myself a Haines.
Really?
Yeah, it did. My firstborn child wasn't a Haines. I named him Dowden, and my husband was fine with that. He didn't care. Well, we weren't married at the time. But so he took my last name, and then it wasn't until we had other kids that I was like, you know what, it would be nice for them to have your name too. But it was a decision. It was a different kind of, he knew from the moment he got into it with me that I was a different kind of like, you don't own this.
I love that.
Yeah.
He knows what he signed up for.
I don't know if he knew entirely what he signed up for. I think he knows a little bit better now. And I think he learns every day, as do I. I wake up every morning. I don't know who I'm going to be. It's going to be super fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. We went places.
Lots of places.
I loved that. You mentioned earlier with your rant that your unpopular opinion kind of ties into the rant.
Right.
Okay. Don't hate me for this, but it's time for an unpopular opinion. Here, we're going to hear your unpopular opinion.
So I've got several of those as well. However, this one is an unpopular opinion is that in bed with a partner, you should really take from them. Take your pleasure. And now the narrative around that is going to be a little bit dicey. So think about this for a second. If you are with a person and they're giving you a blowjob and you know full well that they're giving you a blowjob because they think they have to, can you feel the pity blowjob? You can feel it, right? Like you can feel when somebody's just doing something because like they're giving to you. Now it could be, okay, I say pity blowjob. It really could be from the bottom of their heart that they're like, I want to give this to you, like I'm doing this for you, or I'm having sex with you because I know you want to, and they're okay too, right? So this is the dicey part. I'm not talking about like abusive situations or anything like that. I'm just talking like, you know, meh, I might be in the mood, meh, I might not, meh, I don't really love blowjobs, but I know you like it, so I'm going to give it to you. It hits you different when you got a woman who wants to suck the fucking life out of you. All right? Like it hits you different. When there's a guy going down on me and I know that he's doing it because he read a thing in a book and he's doing these techniques and I know full well he's in his head going, A, B, C. And I'm like, oh God, I got to get to Z before I tell him to stop. Like there's a difference than a man going down on you and eating you like it's the last fucking time he's going to have a pussy in his mouth. Like because he wants to be there. There's just something so raw about that. Take your pleasure from your partners. Get into it, enjoy it, don't perform. There's a thing called spectatoring, and it's when we watch ourselves having sex with our partners or doing something like that sexually. We're in our heads. We're like, how do I look? What's going on? How does this feel for them? What am I doing? But the people who literally get lost in taking pleasure from somebody else are the best givers. They are the best lovers. They will be the best people that you have sex with. So I say take your pleasure. Stop this giving thing. You know, there's a little thing out there and it says when two givers give to each other, everyone gets watered. No. Okay? You got to have somebody who's taking and giving. A little bit. Taking and giving, right? I mean, like, yeah, it's a little bit of both. Don't get me wrong. This is what I mean. Like, people will take that and roll with like, oh, well, you shouldn't take from it. No, I get that. Yeah. But like, get into it. And if you're not feeling pleasure from something, rest assured your partner is not feeling the amount of pleasure that they can be having in that moment, right? I can suck a dick rhythmically and I know technically what to do, but if I don't want to be there, or maybe if I even got something on my mind and I thought I wanted to be there, but now I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to, whatever. You know, you can tell. Have you guys ever been in a situation where you're in the middle of something, and all of a sudden you're just like, are you there? Like, are you there? Even if it's a kiss, even if it's a hug, even if it's something, you sense that they're not there, right? The people who are taking their pleasure so in order to take your pleasure, you need to know your pleasure. So for women, we need to self-pleasure. For men, I think that we need to, scale down. If you watch porn, scale down, and this goes for women too. This goes for everybody. Porn is so accessible. Scale the porn back just a little bit. Use your imagination just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, kind of, exercise that a little bit. It's going to help you out in the long run when you're with a real life person, like that you have to close your eyes, imagine, fantasize, feel their body, feel their tongue. What do their hands feel like on you? What do you feel in your guts when you see somebody and you really get really, really horny and you really want to like jump their bones? Like your whole body can resonate with pleasure before you even touch somebody. Yeah. Acknowledge that and appreciate that and be in that moment, but we're not. We rush through those things sometimes, right? So and then when we rush, then we start thinking, oh, well, I'll do the thing, but you're not actually taking pleasure from them And then a lot of women on top of that feel like we have to perform.
Yes.
So when you're performing, you're not taking your pleasure. Men feel like they need to perform too in a different way. We talk about it a lot with women, but men also feel like they just need to be pounding, and they get really in their heads about that because some people can't do that. They can't maintain their erection. They come too fast. All of these things that we joke about and women are now allowed to make fun of men for, we can't do that anymore either. If we don't want to be talked about that way, we can't talk about other people that way. We need to we need to understand how everybody is in this together.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That's so interesting about the pounding thing. Like, it's so true. Yeah. Like,
the
you
bigger
don't
the
have
man.
to do that.
Nope. Big man, big dick, rock hard, pounding for an hour. Like, no.
Slow the fuck down.
That's fun sometimes, right? And maybe for some people all the time. That's cool too. Like, don't get me wrong. Everybody likes it differently. But like, if you slow down and I slow down and I take my pleasure from you and you take your pleasure from me and we do things to each other that we want to feel. So like, you know, if I'm with a guy and I want to bite the inside of his thigh, I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to say, like, does that feel good? Because we're all about consent and I understand all of that. However, I'm going to bite your thigh because that just gave me pleasure. And if I liked it, I'm going to do it again. Right? Unless you say stop, that hurts. And I'll be like, do you like it that way though? Like, do you like it when it hurts? It depends. But like, I'm going to do that because then that stimulated something in me where I'm like, ooh, I really like doing that. Even if it's licking somebody's wrist, guys, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, right? But you're taking something from them that you want, as well as obviously they've given you their consent to have that taken from them by being in that moment with them. So it feels really good. Like when I don't know, think about this as a woman, and you already touched on this like dom sub thing, but like when you're had, is that not the best sex ever? Yeah. When you know that you're just being taken for that ride and you're like, oh, I am your little cum slut. Like, yes, sir. Like it's a thing. It's a thing. For some people, it's a thing. Now, I might say that, and some women are like, no, that's cool too. I'm not saying everybody has to be that way. Mm-hmm. I feel like there needs to be a big disclaimer over everything I say.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe is why it's an unpopular opinion.
Okay, I was going to say, maybe it's like my like Instagram trauma, but I'm like, please don't come at me because I get it. Everybody's different. Because like I'll post things and people will be like, I'm not like that. And I'm like, I know that I wasn't talking to you.
Everybody is different.
Everybody. This is the beautiful thing about sex. I do not have one answer for everybody.
I will also say too, so like the whole like I'm doing this because I like it, you know, like when guys say like I'm going down you because I want to, like there should always be, you know, either a discussion or something that's like, well, like you and I have talked about, oral isn't the best thing for you and I.
Not the best.
Like I was talking about in the car actually last night coming home from a gig with some ladies, like it's lovely, it's a great warm up. But it's the best thing you can do for me is to do what I want to do, which is just lay there and let me do the thing.
Right. So that's the thing. I would rather give than receive oral. 100%. Yeah. Getting oral for me is like a back rub.
So really like, in that case, like the best thing a guy could do would just be like to pull me on him. Like if he pulled me on him, that's him going like, now you take it. Like you take exactly what you want.
Right. So, you know, but the thing is, you know, if you're with a guy, so if I'm with a guy and he loves giving oral, maybe it feels like a back rub to me. But you know what gets me off? The fact that he loves giving oral.
That's true too.
So like the sensation, if it's not hurting and it's not like hurting my heart and my soul and my brain, and I'm just kind of there, but I see that they are enjoying themselves, there is nothing hotter and more raw than watching the person that you're with in the moment. Mm-hmm. So like if they're going down on me and they are in that moment, I might not allow that moment any longer than 10 or 15 minutes, whatever. You know, it might not be
15.
What? Anyway, okay, 2 or 3 minutes, whatever.
My version is skewed. I don't know.
But I might not, I say allow, but like I might try to transition that a little bit so I can get a little bit more pleasure, but like it feels good still. And if they're like, oh, and like totally into it and doing things that feel great, you know what? I enjoy the fact that somebody's doing the thing. Right?
That's true too. Yeah.
If I was given a blowjob and I was really, really into it and some guy was like, no, baby, I don't like that. Oh, like, no, just let me be into it. Like if I'm into it and it's not hurting you and it's good, like all head is good head. Like if you can just, that's not true. But anyway. Yeah. That's also.
We're just shaking his head over there.
Yeah, that was also not true. But you know, like if you're with somebody and they're giving you head and it's not hurting or something's going wrong or whatever, and you can see that this person, this woman, like I can come giving you head.
Whoa.
Like I want to do it. So like, cool. If you can just let me do that, that's amazing. Right. And then transition it a little bit and then we move on and then we do, you know, what you want to do. So
exactly.
There's
it's
lots
kind of,
of energetic give and take. Yeah.
It's a dance. But it's important to be in tune. Yeah. With each other and yourself.
Which means you have to stay present, right?
Yes.
Because if you're thinking about what you look like, or you're thinking about what you sound like, or what you need to do, or what you did do, or what your last partner did, or, you know, something like that, then you're not going to be in that moment and you're going to miss those subtle cues, right? It's really important to be in those subtle cues.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Woo!
Woo, buddy! I wonder if, let me just see. We talked kind of a bit about oral. Is there a good way? Like, I mean, this blowjob stuff, I feel like I've been hearing a lot about, you know, women can never give a good blowjob. I hear that a lot from guys.
Give a good blowjob?
I hear that a lot from guys. Like there's no perfect blowjob for them.
What do they want?
I don't know.
Like, what do they?
We need a guy
what's
here.
the follow up? What's the follow up on that?
This is the thing. I just don't know. Like, I mean, I've never had complaints, but like, you know, is there a thing where guys are just afraid to say exactly what to do with blowjobs?
Maybe, but I would also be curious to talk to these guys and ask them why.
Richard, can you weigh in?
No, I really mean it. I wonder where that comes from. No, please. No, you have to. You have
Should
to
we
now.
give him the mic?
Yes, please.
Really quick.
Because you could say something and I'll be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense.
Some are better than others.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult sometimes to tell somebody that they're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do after you just had somebody suck your dick is be like, that wasn't very good.
Right. But what does it mean when it's not a good job?
That varies from person to person. It
yeah.
can be too much teeth.
Right.
Not enough friction.
Right.
Just using your mouth and no hands.
Right.
You know, using too much hands and not enough mouth.
Perfect.
It's very variable. And like anything else with sex, it's going to be different from person to person.
Yes, 100%.
You know, and there's anatomical considerations. Not everybody's circumcised. Foreskin adds a serious complication.
Yeah.
It can be... You know, it's
It's
okay. So like, go too deep into this. It's not like I was prepared to have this conversation.
No, I get it. No, those are very. That's kind of what I was expecting.
But a lot
to
of
hear.
it, though,
I just wanted to make sure I was
like you get a shitty blowjob. You're not gonna tell this to the person, right? Nobody wants to hear that.
No,
but it's a thing that you might gossip about later, which is why you end up hearing these things third hand.
I hear them all the time. Which actually ties in nicely with a question we got on Instagram from somebody.
Yeah.
Which was the best ways or favorite ways to communicate your preferences in the moment.
Right.
During sex, because this is a thing.
Yeah.
If we're not communicating.
Yeah.
We are gonna then walk away and go, well, that
right.
And you're gonna talk about it with your friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So is there an art to that? Is there a way to that?
Yeah, I think a little tip that I like to give people is play-by-play. Play-by-play works really well. So even like Richard was just saying, like maybe too much teeth or not enough hand or da-da-da-da-da, you could say something like, instead of, oh, I don't like it that way, I like it this way, you could say, yeah, I really love that you're using your hand right now. Or
right. Positive reinforcement.
And just kind of like giving them a little narrative, like, oh, just grab the shaft, or oh, lick the head. Yeah. Or you know, I love feeling, you know, your spit dripping down me or whatever. Because then if you say that, then she's gonna be like you know, she's gonna be like, cool, you like that? I'll give you more of that or whatever. Now, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're getting that, and I mean relationship, even if you're dating, you can talk about stuff like that. The open conversations about sex, this is why I'm here. This is why I want to be here. And this is why I want to do what I'm doing, because I tell people to use me as a scapegoat all the time. Guys, use me as a scapegoat. Even if I didn't say something on this podcast tonight, you can be like, I heard this sex coach on this sex podcast one time tell me or tell us that a lot of spit was gross, or a lot of spit was great, or hand was better, or da-da-da-da-da. Maybe I didn't say that at all, but that's what you like, and I'm your scapegoat. So I heard a professional say once that, and then you have this funny conversation with this person that you're with about me, an outsider. So it's not your sex you're talking about. It's somebody else's sex. Because that's easy when you're just kind of dating. You want to like get the sex talk out, or you know, whatever. But when you're in the moment, like it is important to tell people, but definitely positively. Like if there's something really wrong, then you want to wait until after the fact to have like a conversation with them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, just talk about what you do like.
Yeah. And just to touch back on the blowjob thing, I love, this is how am I don't even know how I'm going to word this because it's kind of like the first time I've ever had to say this. I love that guys are actually saying that blowjob stinks.
Yeah.
I really am, because a lot of the time we talk about how women are not pleasured the way women want to be pleasured, and clits are nobody knows how to pleasure a clit and da 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 da. But we think in general that men just like their dick sucked. That's not always true. And isn't it amazing that now we have men who are coming out and saying that and being like, it really wasn't that great. Because back in the day, I mean, everybody's been talking about it forever, but not so nuanced, right? Like all I ever heard growing up was, like she bit it off or something, but all head is good head. That's why I said it. That was literally like,
it's ingrained in you.
Right? All head is good head, but it's not. All head was good head when you were like 14 back in the 90s, because like, you're getting your dick sucked at 14 back in the 90s. Like that was super, So like that's where it came from. But men are not told that they're even allowed to have preferences, because men are supposed to just
be simple. Easy.
Well, be simple. And they like all sex, and men are dogs, and it doesn't really matter how good it is as long as they're getting it. No. Everybody likes good sex, and everybody wants good sex for them, right? So that's it. I might be with a partner and I'm, sucking their dick and they really love it. Now I go to another partner and do those same things that I was told I was a superstar for, but new partner doesn't like those things. That's not that's not on me, right? I mean, it's on me to learn, but I don't have to internalize that.
No.
Right? I can just say, cool, well, what do you like then?
Yeah.
So let's work on that together. So when I'm with a new partner, it's like, this partner did that and they were really, really good at it. That's what I like. Now I'm with a new partner who doesn't do it that way. I'm not going to shame that partner and be like, oh, he doesn't even fucking know how to do it. No, guess what? That's on me to tell him. Yes. So, like, guys, that's also on you to tell her. And the idea is, now that we're having these open conversations, not everybody's going to get butthurt over it. Not everybody's going to take it as rejection. Not everybody's going to take it as such a bad thing, because now we're okay with learning different ways of doing things, right? Not all women know how to give a blowjob, because porn is so accessible that everybody just goes for deep throat and they go to do this porn style blowjob and they don't understand. I had a question come in to me last week, and it was an older couple, 58 and 60 years old. And she was like, I want to give my husband a blowjob. I really never did, because in her growing up, that really kind of wasn't a thing that women did, but she wanted to do it. And she was like, and I did it for like 40 minutes and my jaw was hurting and da da da. And I was like, that's a long time. So what that tells me is that they likely kind of learned from porn how to do it, what's going on, because they were learning together. They were, doing this kind of together. And I was like, babe, you don't even have to take it in your mouth all the way. Like, you can lube up the shaft and just play with the head. You can lube up the shaft and play with the balls. Like, oral doesn't have to be deep throat all the time.
No.
Right? And because oral for women doesn't have to be all the time either.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we want either. We want intention. You want intention behind your oral. Intentional oral.
Intentional oral.
Love that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I do want to talk about sex drive, because this is an interesting thing that you and I talked about. We kind of touched on it earlier about being kind of low in that area currently. Yeah. I certainly am. I truly feel nothing. Yeah. Like, I made a joke last night being like, you could probably put a Theragun down there and I still am feeling nothing. Right. Which does tie into, I think, demisexuality and just the fact that I need to be liking someone to be horny. Yeah. This is just kind of a recent discovery. I actually, guys, I'm not liking anyone right now. Right. Shocking news. But because of that, I don't feel horny. And what has your journey been with sex drive fluctuations? Yeah. And all over the fucking place. Yeah. So we kind of touched on it being tied to mental health. Yep. So I have a touch of depression, and that's just touch. That's when you know they really do, is when they like write it off. I'm like, no, it's not real. It's just like a little bit, and things like that. So I'll fluctuate during those times for sure. Wintertime is really hard for me, but your mental health really
is important when it comes to your sex drive. It's the same. I mean, it's like when I looked at you, you were like, I'm like, you're sad.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to have pleasure when we're sad. They don't live in the same place, right? In our brains. Like, we can't feel anger and happiness all at the same time. We think we can, but they do fluctuate between. You can't be sad and feel horny, like want pleasure. That's just kind of not the way it goes. We kind of need to get ourselves into it. However, with all that said, it's just like anything where motivation doesn't come first. Pardon the pun, but like motivation follows the act usually. But touching on demisexuality, like if that's the way that you are, then that will be a beautiful exploration for you, because now you don't have to feel bad about yourself, and nobody should feel bad about their sex drive, for the record, anyway. But you don't have to feel bad about yourself because you're not horny. You don't have to feel so confused about yourself because you're not horny. You just know that in order for me to have any sexuality coursing through my body for another person, I need to have an emotional or intellectual connection with them first, right? And a lot of people don't understand that that's a thing.
Oh yeah, it's highly misunderstood.
Yeah,
it's some people don't know about it.
Well, the thing is, the asexuality scale is so massive. Like,
Huge.
I want you to think of like an oversized Rubik's Cube, and every single one of those cubes divided into like 1,000. Like, that's how many scales, that's how big the spectrum is for sexuality to asexuality, like true full sexuality to full on asexuality, right? So many things on the inside. We can't talk about sex as like definitive moments anymore. And that fluctuates through our lives as well. So that's not a static thing. You could have had a super high sex drive in your 20s and then, have all the fucking casual sex and enjoy it all. And then something hits you and you're just like, no, I need more. And now we have a name for that. Right? So now we do that. Now you could experience that the entire time as well. It can change. It's sort of even like sexuality, honestly. Like, our sexuality and our preferences change through life sometimes. It's very fluid sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. I love that there's no definitive answer for that, right? But sex drive, like, I've struggled with my sex drive for a little while. And funny enough, in my job, my husband and I had this conversation actually after you and I talked, that if you do anything a lot, it loses its luster sometimes. Anything. And I do sex a lot. I talk to other people about sex a lot. I'm inundated with sex all day long. All the books I read are on sex. All the podcasts I listen to are on sex. So it's sex, 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 sex. And then when it comes time for me to have sex or my husband want to have sex, I'm like, I don't want to do the sex. Like,
I did this all day.
I did all the sex all day.
Yeah.
Like, the massage therapist doesn't want to give you a massage when they come home from work. They don't want to do that. They're their husbands or spouses or whatever. They're the worst patient. Like, they never get the massages, right? You talk to people who are any sort of like body work. So we struggled with that a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of giggling because we kind of like broke the seal recently. So I think everything is like ding, 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 ding. Like, everything's back on course.
What did it take for that seal to break? Did it take...
He quite literally took me by the throat and was like, I'm not going to bed without this again tonight. I'm not fucking kidding you. And I was like, done. I was like, done.
Well, there it is.
Honestly, we did have a conversation because I said, look, this is not going to happen unless you end up taking it, and getting me there.
Oh, wow.
Right? I've got very much responsive desire, right? So we have spontaneous desire with responsive desire. And spontaneous desire is when you can just get horny. Like, either you just feel it out of nowhere, which I sometimes do, which is why I took the music on and do the thing and go to the bathroom with the vibrator. Like, sometimes
and that
it's
can
spontaneous.
Be like based on our cycle and ovulation, right? And all
cycle,
that.
Ovulation, who you saw that day, the dream you had last night, like you got the laundry done, you feel good about yourself. Doesn't matter. Like, it can just happen. Or responsive, where you really don't feel anything until your body is stimulated, right? So this is why sometimes I'll say to women who are having a hard time getting their drive back, until you start touching your clit again, your body will continuously be shut down. You kind of need to do it. And even the first 5 minutes, maybe you're even there 10 minutes and you're touching yourself and still nothing's happening. Give your body some time to warm up to that. It needs time to be responsive to this physical touch.
Preheat the oven.
Right.
But also you have to allow yourself that time. A lot of people talk about the idea of like dating yourself or like having a date night with yourself.
Yep, taking care of yourself.
Take the night off and like have a damn bubble bath. And,
or whatever it takes for you, right?
Whatever it takes for you specifically.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect example for me is I really love going out alone. I get I don't want to say dressed up because I'm not usually dressed up, but like I'll be feeling good and I go to this bar, my favorite bar, and I'll sit at the end of the bar with a whiskey and a book. and I will sit there, and that makes me feel like $1 million fucking dollars. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be anywhere, but I've taken the time to bring myself into that moment. I'm like, cool, this is where I feel really good. And then I know that that's me courting myself. And I've done something that I really like that I don't do often. So I'm going to go do the thing, and then I'm going to go home, and maybe I'll do the thing.
Oh my God.
I generally get horny at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, though.
Whoa. That's a specific time.
It is very specific.
You know what I will say?
Between 11:30 and 1 o'clock in the day, I'm like,
yeah. Well,
who's around?
fucking morning, man. I don't know what it is with the morning.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like cycles change. Like, and I don't mean like cycle, like menstrual cycle, but like our sexuality cycles change too. So if you're paying attention to that, then you'll know that if you are horny in the mornings, give yourself a half an hour and rub one out before you start your day.
Oh my God.
Because
right.
now you rev yourself up. But if you feel that, or you even know that, and then you're like, oh, I don't have time for that right now, you've literally just rejected yourself. Yes. Nobody likes rejection.
No.
So now the promise that you've made you've broken a promise to yourself. The promise that is, I'm going to take care of me, and I'm going to like take care of my sexuality. Now you quite literally stood yourself up because your body told you something, and you were like, no, you're not worth it.
God damn, that's powerful as shit.
You're worth it, baby.
Yeah,
you are worth it. So
don't stand yourself up.
Don't stand yourself up.
Don't stand yourself up.
Take those moments, right? I take my moments between 11:30 and 1 most days. Don't come knocking on the door.
I'm not going to DM you during those hours.
Don't call me. I don't work. On my thing, I usually have like a long lunch hour.
I love that. On the subject of sex drive, though, we did get a question from somebody. And I do feel like this is I actually wrote her back being like, this is such a great question for you. Because I think you'll have insight into this, which is how do you handle it when your partner doesn't match your sex drive?
Yeah. So that's a big deal. Did she specify whether she was higher or lower? Because that sort of depends.
Was she low or was he low? He was low. I'm actually hearing a lot about this. That's another like kind of myth about you know, masculine and feminine sexuality is that like men are always horny and women aren't. And it's like, I find a lot when I talk to people, it's the other way around.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, I don't want to say the other way around, but like if you actually...
It happens more than we think.
It happens more. It's more 50-50 than anything. But men don't talk about it because non-horny men are not masculine.
Right.
Right? That's not, men are supposed to be
fuck all the time.
Right?
I gotta fuck all the time.
And women are supposed to be like, oh my God, I don't even need it. Right? So we don't talk about how horny we are. Men don't talk about how horny they're not. And we just perpetuate this narrative that's really not true. Because we're all fucking horny. Yeah. And sometimes we're all not horny. Like, guys, I really wish I could be like, this is how it is, but it's not. It's not. So when it comes to like, it's called desire discrepancy. When you have a discrepancy in your desire, you know, conversations, obviously, communication is really important. Finding out why. Has it been like that all the time? So these would be the questions. If that was a couple that came into me, the initial questions I would ask would be, first of all, like, how long have you been together? When did you notice the change? Was there a change? Was it always this way? So a couple of things that can happen is if it's always been that way, that's one issue. If you've been together a really long time, that's another thing where just routine gets in the way. Yeah. And our eroticism, we always consider that to be sexy or like erotic or dirty. But eroticism is really just your zest for life. And sometimes routine can kill eroticism. Routine can, you know, the mundane can kill your eroticism. You just kind of get up, you do the thing, you feed the kid, you go to work,
going through the paces.
Going through the motions. Okay, so you're not really alive on the inside. So then I wonder who goes to work, who doesn't go to work, who goes at what time, do you guys go to bed together, all kinds of questions. Then there's this moment in the middle where the desire itself, we have this baseline of desire. All of us have like a baseline of desire in our lives. And that's how we are, which is how we exist. But when we get into a relationship, we get new relationship energy and it jacks us up. Yeah. And our brains start releasing dopamine and adrenaline and serotonin and all these oxytocin, all this concoction of just drugs. And it's the love drug, right? And we fall in love and we do these things and we're all over each other and we're all excited. But then after 2 or 3 years, 18 months to 3 years, that levels off again and you go back to your baseline of pleasure. So I would ask, where is your partner's baseline of pleasure? Like when you met them, I would ask them specifically with the low, How did you find pleasure in life before that? Were you like, what did you do for fun?
Oh,
like,
so
how did you, right?
Yeah.
So like if somebody was like high risk, like high adrenaline all the time, and now all of a sudden, like even their fun things that they were doing were all high risk, and now all of a sudden their
They don't
desire
have that.
drops, then there might be
Right.
something going on. But if they said to me, well, you know, I used to read a lot of books and I like to go for walks and like some things that are pretty static, and now all of a sudden they're just kind of back where they started, I'd be like, okay, well, all you experienced was a spike, and now you guys have to maintain this desire that you have together. So one is high, one is low. When we know why, that helps. Why always helps. And then, okay, what can you give and what can you lessen so that we can get you guys back on track,
More
right?
even.
So if you want it 7 days a week and they want it twice a month, then we can bring you to maybe let's organize an intimacy night once every 2 weeks where you know you guys are going to be together. You know that there's, nothing that's going to get in the way of that. You've got something to look forward to. You've got something to get you excited. And then you guys can move forward through that. And so you just try to find the balance and the whys. The whys are really important. So it's a hard general question, but the whys are really important. Very, 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 very common. I want people to know that it is very uncommon to have 2 high adrenaline, high sex drive people and to have 2 low sex drive people. That polarity generally shows up in our lives all the time.
Interesting.
So it's very common.
And if they're both very high, I imagine it wouldn't be like that forever.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's like that they start together and one starts to dip.
Everything changes, right? It depends how long you're together. Did you have kids? Did you open a business? Did you lose your job? Did you, all kinds of different things can change that, but it's not the end of it. There's nothing wrong with anybody, right? I hate quantifying low and high sex drive. It's really just different.
Fluctuations. It's like
me. It's like one of us. Okay. It's like a woman looking at another woman going, "You're ugly. You're pretty." No, you don't get to say that. We're all just gorgeous. We're just different. Sex drives are the same. There is no high and low. There's just different, right? Because my high might be like when I'm in my highest sex drive, I could be twice a month. Maybe that's high for me.
Right.
Right?
It's all
maybe
relative.
It's all relative. And maybe for you, that's low.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that's super high because generally I only want it once every 6 months. So if I want it twice a month, that's my sex drive being really high. So who am I to say that 7 days a week is high and 4 days, you know what I mean? That could be low for some people. We can't do that. We can't put numbers on it because it's all very relative to who you are. So you just need to figure that out.
And hormones come into play.
Yep.
Like the hormone thing, like whether or not you're on the pill.
Yep.
I've heard things like if you're on the pill for so long, it can take away your sex drive.
Yeah, it can.
I've found that to be true.
Yeah.
Because the times that I've gone off the pill, comes back.
Well, because your body has a natural fluctuation, right? And when you're on the pill and we're on any sort of hormonal therapy, it's kind of keeping you at status quo all the time. But when you allow yourself time to breathe from that, then your body is allowed to like have these fluctuations. So you see the highs and lows.
Yeah.
I hesitate saying this because I don't really know enough about it, but it's sort of like some people that I know personally. So I'm going to use a personal story for this. So I'm not generalizing. A person that I know who numbs out with alcohol a lot, right? So they numb themselves a lot so they don't feel the highs and the lows in their life. Everything is
just baseline.
Is just baseline here. But it wasn't until they took that out that they see the highs and the lows that were really, alcoholism is a big deal, right? But it was really hard for them to understand that. But it's the same idea is that when you keep yourself at a status quo with anything and you don't allow yourself to feel the highs and lows, if we were happy all the time, we would take for granted happy.
Yes.
You need to be sad in order to appreciate happy. You need to be
so
happy
true.
in order to appreciate sad. You need to feel your hormonal as women with hormones. We need to feel those fluctuations to appreciate what they actually do to our bodies and how they change us. But a lot of us, I was on the pill at 14, 15 maybe. I came off early. I say early. I was still on it for almost 10 years, but I came off when I was about 22. And when I did, I went through this numb stage where I swear I was coming off drugs. Like I was I had no personality. I didn't feel anything. I was numbed out until my body started regulating again.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling the highs and the lows of my personal cycle. And now I feel my body. Like I know my world.
Do you
a little
recommend
bit
going
different.
off the pill? Like, so in my example, like I'm 34. I've been on it off and on for a long time,
Right.
like probably since grade 11.
Yeah.
But like I have gone off it. I haven't gone off it for a full year.
Right.
And I would be very curious.
So professionally, I'm not going to offer an opinion on
Right.
that. Personally,
Asterisks,
I really suggest going off the pill.
Oh, okay.
Personally,
You know what?
But now I'm a different breed, Sarah. I free bleed with the moon. Like, I fucking love it. Like, I'm a tough one to ask that question to. I literally like.
We got to get to free bleeding.
Yeah.
I forgot about free
Oh.
bleeding. We have so much to cover, Serena. Yeah, we have so much to cover.
Oh, you guys are gonna know everything.
That's
about me.
fascinating. Yeah, because I do think there's something to that.
Yeah, there really is. You get to know
My
yourself.
skin is so much better on the pill, though.
Listen, okay, fair. But if you feel a calling to do something, if you
Yeah.
feel, okay, somatically speaking, as an expert, if you feel your body calling to you to try something, follow the calling. Do it. It's your life. You're the main character here. You don't have to worry about anything else. Do the thing. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to protect yourself when you have sex. What's the worst that's going to happen? A couple of years, you go, even a year, you're like, I don't like it. I'm going to go back on the pill.
Or I start banging more, and I go, I should get back on the pill.
Because I'm banging more. Or
Yeah.
you can get non-hormonal contraceptive,
Ooh, I should try that.
right? Or you can, you can do something else. You can make sure you use condom all the time. You can,
Yeah.
there are lots of different ways. Get an IUD.
Okay, we got to get to free bleeding because
Oh.
you said it, and we have to not forget.
Okay, we have to not forget
So
to go back.
we're on
to
the subject of cycles and hormones and all of this.
We'll get back to the sex shortly.
Yes, period break. We're doing a period break. So you don't use anything?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
No tampons, no pads?
No. And it's only been recently, let me tell you something. You touched on this earlier, since that cervical procedure that I had done in November.
Oh my God, we have to talk about
Okay,
this.
so I've had cervical dysplasia for forever, and I've had a few loop procedures, an electronic loop. So my cervix gets shaved every now and then to get precancerous cells.
I've
taken
been
off
there
it.
and it sucks.
I know, it's a lot. But it affected me this time a little bit differently. And I say that because the past 5 or 6 years of my life now, I've become a lot more in touch with myself, my sexuality. I've kind of opened myself up a little bit more, and a lot of things have kind of changed in my life. I ended up getting, like, when they numbed my cervix, I cried like a baby. It didn't hurt, but something emotionally got jabbed and I started crying. So we had the procedure done and it was fine. It's whatever. As women, we go, whatever, I'll get back to work. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
Like,
go back to the next day.
right?
Yeah.
I'll do the things and
Yeah.
stuff. So I did. I just went home, and 10 days later I started bleeding, and I was in the emergency room, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and it was really kind of traumatic. It was a little traumatic. I'm not very dramatic, but it was a thing. I think it kind of hurt my heart. It hurt my feelings a little bit. I hurt my own feelings a little bit. And ever since then, and this is when my sex drive kind of started to go down, I had a really hard time being penetrated with anything. So I had a really hard time putting a tampon. And I always use tampons. And I was actually, like, I used OB, and everybody would make fun of me because I didn't use an applicator because I was even that close to myself. Like, I didn't care. And then I was like, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. And I really started enjoying feeling my bleed. And it's not heavy. I'm a little bit older now. Everything's a little bit different. I think a few years ago, it wouldn't have even been possible, right? Like, there are some things you got to do it. You got to go out in life and you got to do your thing. Also, my lifestyle kind of accommodates that. I work from home. I am home.
Yeah.
I've got like 7 pairs of, black sweatpants that I deal with during that time. I've got some like period underwear.
Do you do the period under?
Yeah, I do the period underwear. Like when I
do you
go out,
like
I
it?
do Knix. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I like it a lot, actually. And like, they're
Yeah.
really good. Like,
Yeah.
they work really, really well. So I'll do that if I have to go out. But generally speaking, if I'm bleeding, like, I don't know if I can see you anyway, right? Because I just listen to my cycle and I don't have to. Like, I'm so fucking privileged to be able to say that. Like, I don't have to go anywhere if I don't want to when it comes to that. I've got the kids home, but I don't work outside of the house.
It really is a good time to be kind to yourself.
Yes.
It's so crazy because I just I just tried to skip my period because I had an insane week. I had 4 shows in a week. In the middle of those shows, I had a photo shoot for the podcast, which went amazing, by the way.
Oh, good.
But I tried to skip the period
Right.
by starting my pack early.
Right.
Didn't fucking work.
No.
So on the day of the fucking photo shoot, I got my goddamn period.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, I felt bloated.
Yeah.
I had to get into these tight outfits. At one point, my friend Frankie, who is amazing, was like, "You should just get down on your bodysuit on your blazer," and I would just go, "No." I literally am just
I saw
on my
that
period.
story. I saw
You
that
know?
you were like, this was not a planned outfit. But you looked amazing in what you posted.
But I was feeling like, I can't tell you just how, like, that first, like, my periods are usually like 1 to 3 days, like no more than 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky in that. And there's a fear of going off the pill where I go, you know,
It
maybe
won't be that bad.
we'll see what happens. But it's been so long since my body has been free of that.
Right.
But also it's like, yeah, it's nice to take that time to be kind to yourself when if you are someone who has hard periods, cramps. Like, I get really bad day 1 cramps that are just like, I'm just hellish on day 1.
Yeah.
Like, I
get really sobby.
Yeah.
I cry a lot. My kids now, it's almost like the little boy who cried wolf. If something was really wrong, my kids would be like, "Oh, there's mom just crying again." Like, I am like weepy all the time, but I'm perimenopausal too, so it's different.
Right.
Like, I'm just that much older than you, that like I'm going through this brand new thing.
Right.
There's another thing we get to go
great.
through. It's
So excited.
fun.
So excited. So it's interesting that you had that moment with the LEAP procedure.
Yeah.
Like, because you've had, how many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
Were they all vaginal?
Yep.
Woo!
Whoop, whoop.
And nothing happened with that ever.
Nope.
So
Well,
LEAP-
do you know what's really interesting? So I had my first baby, and then I had my LEAP, one of my LEAPs. So I had a baby and then a LEAP, and then my second baby wouldn't come out. And I said to them, I was like,
She's
listen.
like, no, I'm staying in here.
Honestly,
was it a Taurus?
No, a little cancer. But I was like, guys, there's something wrong. Like, in my laboring brain, I was like, there's something wrong. I kept saying at the end of it, it was only, I don't want to say only 11 and a half hours, but it was 11 and a half hours of active labor. So because my cervix wasn't opening, because there was scar tissue on my cervix from the LEAP procedure, which is very common.
LEAP. Oh, God.
And it's very common, and they knew that it was there. Everybody just followed procedure. Everything was fine, like, you know, whatever. But I kept saying to them, like, there's something wrong. And nobody would check me, and nobody would do the things. But they were doing the things, but they were doing what they needed to do. But you know your own body.
Yeah.
And at one point I just said, I was like, can you please just cut this baby out? Like, just cut it out. Like, I was exhausted. My mom was there. She was literally holding my head up. I was so tired while I was getting this epidural that didn't work. It worked, but it was not on time. So they went in and they broke the scar tissue. So I went from 1 to 6 centimeters instantly. Jesus. And so that means, for anybody listening who doesn't have babies and hasn't done this, is that my cervix went through what's called transition, where it opened, but it actually didn't. It was like held together with an elastic band. So when they snipped the elastic band, it sprung open. And then the baby was there. This is like a little bit much. I mean, it probably wasn't just like that, but like a good visual. And then the baby's head was there. And then as I was getting the epidural, because they were like, okay, you're 6 centimeters, you can get an epidural now. I'm like, fucking wicked, because I'm exhausted. I was like bent over getting this needle in my spine, and I felt all the contractions. And then the doctor left and goes, okay, you get some rest. And your doctor, the anesthesiologist, said, your doctor will be in soon. And I said, okay, thank you. I was like, oh, thank you. And I lay down on my side. I'll never forget watching the anesthesiologist walk out the door. Time-wise, my husband went, I'm going to go call mom and tell her what's going on. And I went, okay. He walked around the curtain, and on my side, I lifted up my leg and I went, the baby's here! The baby's here! And there was like a head coming out of my vagina. I was like holding it. I was like, there's a baby in my vagina!
Oh, my God.
The whole floor like came in. The doctor came up with their jacket on. Everybody was like, what the fuck? Anyway, and the baby like came out. Like, they caught the baby, and then he had meconium aspiration. He had to go to the ICU.
It just came right out.
It was just like right there. I pushed it like once, and the baby came out. And then they had to take him because he had an infection, because he had meconium aspiration, because he was in there too long, because there was something wrong. And I knew it. I knew there was something wrong. Anyway, it happens all the time.
Whoa.
They did a fantastic job down there. I'm not like saying that nothing, that anything went wrong. But
insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's just to show you like how you know your body. So this all came into it where you were saying like, you tried to skip your period, but you ended up having your period anyway, because your body was like, fuck you, we're having a period anyway. Like, this is what we're going to do. Like, you got to kind of listen. Sucks. It does suck a little bit, but like, just listen to your body, see what happens.
And that's how it only lasted one day.
Right? So just do a little experiment and see. You never know. Listen to your body.
Let's talk about dick pics.
Oh.
There's
no real good transition there. Dick pic is always a good transition.
I have kind of all over my notes because we were talking about how we think dicks get a bad rep.
I love dicks.
In terms of people make fun of them a lot.
Yeah.
Or they make fun of dick pics.
Right.
And how we are kind of pro dick pic.
I'm pro dick pic.
Sometimes.
I don't want all your...
Richard sits right
I'm
up.
like, this is dicey.
So,
inboxes are going to be flooded. But
yeah. What's your opinion on them?
Okay, first of all, if somebody made fun of my labia, I'd be pissed. So don't make fun of people's dicks. Don't do that. We can't do that. We're not dick shaming anymore, okay? Like, that's not a thing. We're not 3-minute man shaming. We're not 30-second man shaming. We're not doing any of that man shaming. We're done with that now because we're adults and we're sex positive and we're just going to like enjoy the fact that everybody is different and we can talk about different things. I think dicks are wondrous. I love their shape. I love their colors. I love the veins. I love how big they are. I love the circumcised ones and the uncircumcised ones. I love balls that are big and balls that are little. Like, I just love them. I love them. And I think it's, generally speaking, I think if you talk to a lot of guys who like vulvas, they would say the same thing, that they're just like, cool, I just really love them all. Like, they're great. And the people who say that they don't love them all, well, they'll find one that they do love eventually, I'm sure. But like, I don't mind it. I don't get dick pics, for the record. I have gotten one dick pic and it was a drawing. And he said to me, and if anybody else has gotten this dick pic, and you know who I'm talking about, then you'll know who it was from. Because he's like, we first started talking and he was like, I said, don't you dare send me a dick pic. And he was like, I won't. And he sent me a pic and he was like, open it. It's not my dick. And I was like, well, whose fucking dick is it going to be? Anyway, it wasn't. It was like a little drawing that he drew like of a dick. And I was like, ah, ha, ha, you're so charming. And then we started chatting. It was really good It was a really good little like break the ice kind of thing. And he never did send me a dick pic. Like, it was perfect. Like, it was fine. But I don't get them. Do you get them?
Okay, so here we go. I have a hookup buddy who sends me them quite frequently.
That's different.
But that is the kind of structure of our dynamic.
Right.
So, it's, there's consent there. Like, he knows that I won't mind seeing it. Da 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 da. I've had a few unsolicited ones and those can be jarring.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think effort, man. Put a little bit of effort into that's what it takes for it to be good.
Right. If you're going to take the pic, like, make it look good.
Yeah. I don't like the ones that just seem lazy.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of lying in bed and the lighting is bad and there's shadows. And like, when I take a picture of my vulva, you rest assured that like I've taken at least 2,500 of them before I send the one. Right? I'm like, I gotta make it look good. Like, I gotta make
you guys
sure
think we take a lot of face selfies?
Oh, you have no idea what's in that gallery.
Yeah,
I don't let my kids can't touch my phone.
I will say, vagina photos specifically are hard to fucking do.
They're hard to do. They are really hard to do.
They are really hard to do in a way that looks really good
to us.
But same for dick pics,
right? But to us, get this. I mean, I don't know if there's. Richard, is there a bad vulva pic? Like, if somebody sent you a picture of their like vulva, would you be like, "Oh, the lighting on this is not"?
Oh,
great.
Here we go. I love this so much.
As long as it doesn't look clearly diseased,
right?
All vaginas are beautiful.
Fantastic. See, I feel the same way about dicks, man. I'm like, listen, we can talk about the shadows and the this and that, but like, as long as you are, looking on the healthy side,
yes,
then I think we're pretty good. A really nice shiny. No, I'm not even going to tell you guys what I like because they're going to end up in my inbox. No,
I will say, like, I had. I'm going to try not to like give this away too much, but I had an interaction with a guy in New York a couple of years ago. And he sent me like a video of him coming, and it was wonderful,
right? Like
epic. I do like a video.
A good cum shot.
I like a video because you see way more of the whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole thing, and that they're turned on sending it to you.
like that moment when. Oh wait, I've never gotten a cum shot video.
Oh
yes, I have. No, I'm lying. Okay, so I really like it when. I like knowing that there's like, because a lot of the time, like sometimes the camera will shift and you just know full well that they're so in that moment. It's the same idea as taking pleasure from your partner. You know that the person who's sending it to you is not performing, that they're actually in that moment. And you're like, that's hot. I don't even know what's happening right now, but the fact that I know that you almost forgot what you were doing because you were so in the moment.
It's a little shaky.
Right? And like, you know that they're, I think that that's fantastic.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So we're not saying send us a bunch of dick pics.
No.
But we're also saying
My DMs
let's
are
not
not open
hate
to
so much
anybody.
on dicks.
Right.
Because to be frank, why would I mean, I shouldn't be hating on it. I want one.
Right. Dicks are beautiful. All cock is beautiful.
All cock is beautiful.
All cock is beautiful. I think it would be a great t-shirt.
Do we have merch now? I think we have merch.
Ooh, I want a merch line. I think it'd be fun.
I would love to touch on like one more thing, and then we'll get to the last two questions, and then we'll wrap her up. You mentioned that you really enjoy educating fuckboys.
I
would love to just
a
talk
good
with this
fuck
quickly.
boy. Okay,
Yeah.
so I might not get a lot of dick pics in my DMs, but I get a lot of guys. Okay, and I get the ones a lot of the time that they think they're going to hit me with shock and awe. Right? Because it might work on the average woman. And I get that, right? A lot of these guys are not in it to court you or woo you. They are literally in it to just shock and awe you because they get off on making you uncomfortable. Okay? Yep. Some people. So
Ain't that the truth?
The people who are in my inbox who are doing stuff like that, they'll say something to me like, I don't know. I could post a picture or something and they could be like, oh, I'd love to see my cock between those tits or something. Yeah. I don't know who they think they're talking to, but I'm like, oh, cool. So you like titty fucking? And they'll be like, yeah, baby. And they're trying to like dirty talk me. And they're like, yeah, baby, wouldn't you like my cock between your tits? And I'll be like, well, no, I don't. No, I don't want to. But like, that feels really good, right? Like, doesn't it feel so good when you feel like the softness and then like, you know, that person really trusts you to be that close to their face and you're about to come? Like, that's an amazing feeling. And and I can almost hear them stuttering like, yeah, it is like an amazing feeling. And I'm like, yeah. Like, have you ever been with a woman who let you like come on her neck or anything? And they're like, yeah, babe. So then they're back, yeah, baby. And I'm like, didn't that feel amazing that person like trusted you so much to be there? And, you know, like that would be a really great thing. I mean, I think that more people should kind of be that way. We'll have this conversation. And then the next thing I know, like sometimes they disappear, right? Sometimes you got the people who are just in it for the shock and awe. They disappear and they're gone. But then there are some that are still there years later. And we still have these back and forths. And now it's like, hey, Serena, what do you think about this thing? Because I really like this, but I'm not sure if they would like it or da-da-da-da-da. And I kind of like change the narrative. Like, you're not going to get me with your fuckboy bullshit. Like, just come at me with a question and I'll answer it. Or hopefully, maybe I've just educated you enough that instead of just coming at me, you're asking me questions now. And you want to know something. And you know that it's okay. Because again, it's that persona of, I'm the guy, I'm going to penetrate you even with my words, right? I'm going to like get into your vulnerability, get into your vulnerable state and penetrate you with my words. And that shows my prowess. It shows how powerful I am because I'm a man and I can do that and make you uncomfortable. But if I don't allow them to make me uncomfortable, and there's not very many people who can, then you either disappear out of my life and you're blocked and that's fine. Or we sit down now and we have a conversation and maybe I've helped the next vulva. Like maybe, right? Or the next fuckboy, because maybe now he's the guy who's in the dressing room and these guys are saying these same things. And then he says something like, yeah, but you know what, guys? Like the clit's actually not that hard to find. Right? And then they'll be like, what do you mean? And be like, yeah, it's like right there. It's like this wishbone thing. No, they wouldn't really get into it. Like, I don't know, maybe. But like instead of going along with the narrative of that stereotypical, you know, quote, male locker room talk, like maybe now somebody has a little more knowledge. Maybe I've given somebody that safe place to actually ask a question without having to feel like a dickhead asking it, because a lot of guys will tell me like they just feel like an idiot asking because guys are supposed to know everything. They don't, and they're not supposed to know everything. So now I've given them that chance and that opportunity to come at me, let that wear down a little bit. And now there's this beautiful little back and forth where they're like, yeah, well, I really do like actually coming on girls' faces, but like I feel really bad like when I do it, or like nobody really lets me do it. And I'm like, well, do you know why? Because it's a really vulnerable thing to do. And like, that's a really vulnerable place for a person to be, actually technically lying on your back open with all of your organs open. Animalistically, like it's a very vulnerable place for any animal to be. Most animals that we know have all fours and all of their heart and everything is down on the ground. It's protected. Humans are the only people who are up. So when a woman or a man or whomever is lying on their back and there's another human on their chest with their dick in your face, that's a really vulnerable place to be.
Of course.
So you kind of have to trust what's about to happen and how they're going to react to you after the fact, because then we have that persona of like only sluts do that. So are you going to look at me in a different way after the fact? I had a guy once actually do that to me, and the next day he asked my permission and we were good. We were high on mushrooms. It was amazing. And we were good to go and we were dating and everything was great and we would do the thing. And then afterwards he said, the next day we got in the car, I'll never forget it. He was mortified and he was like, I'm so sorry I did that. And I was like, what? I didn't even know what he was talking about. And he was like, the coming on the face thing. I'm so embarrassed that I even asked you to do that. And I was like, don't. And that just shows that like even that stigma is in his head too, right? Where like we were doing it, we were in the moment, but afterwards he felt shame. Yeah. Because that's the thing that you do to the sluts in the porn. But it's not. That's the thing that you can do to anybody as long as everybody's cool with it.
And everyone wants it, everyone's on board.
Do it up, man. Like,
it was a consensual experience.
Have fun. Like, have fun with all of these things. Like, I really don't think there's one sex act that you shouldn't do. As long as everybody's cool with it, can have at it. There's a few sex acts you're not supposed to do. Again, Jesus Christ, don't come at me. You know what I'm talking about.
Big asterisks on this
right?
whole episode.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's I love that. That is so true. And like what you saying about the belly?
Yeah.
Cats lay on their backs and expose their belly to people they trust.
Right.
Expose our bellies to people that we want to come on us.
Yes.
Exactly. No, but like it is.
It's
It's a tough place, right? It's a tough place to be, to have all of that open.
There's
a, like in yoga when we do like heart opening poses, those are sometimes the hardest ones to do, because it's really hard to like even get your body in that position. But it's because we're so used to kind of protecting ourselves this way that we don't generally walk around with like our chest out and our heads up. Anybody. We kind of make ourselves smaller when we're in society, kind of you protect yourself. It's not until you feel comfortable in somebody's energy do you really, even your body language opens up, right? If you look at somebody who's like really kind of nervous or they're shy, like they'll sit down like with their arms closed. They're quite literally like protecting their heart, right?
Yeah.
And if you have your shoulders back and your chest out, even if you don't, it's like fake it till you make it sometimes. If you walk around like that, then you'll start to feel that way, because you'll understand that you don't have to feel so vulnerable because nobody's there to hurt you.
Right. Bam. We're learning the things.
Sex and sensitivity, guys.
So important.
Come see me.
Some other Instagram questions. I love this one. It's kind of a good one to get to know you a bit more personally.
Like we haven't talked about all the personal things tonight.
Yeah, seriously though. Now it's time to get personal. What is a kink that surprised you that you have? Like something that you figured about yourself that you were like, I never thought I was into that.
I mean, over the years, many things, right? Because I've kind of progressed. Like I talked about the porn, you progress. So like I kind of progressed in my kinks, but fill some space. Let me think about that.
I'm actually,
what's yours maybe?
Okay.
You know what?
I feel like I'm not ready for this.
No, I got one. I got one. Well, definitely pain. I'm going to say pain.
Yeah.
Like hardcore pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hardcore. How hard are we talking?
Like bruised. Like I like to be bruised. Like I like the feeling of it, and not necessarily, not that I don't like it in the moment. I like it in the moment, but I love the aftershock. I love waking up the next day and seeing the marks.
Ooh,
that's what I like.
Yeah. And that is one that is...
And you got to trust somebody to really do that.
Really got to yeah. I mean, I see it all the time happen with casual sex, where like girls are walking around with these bruises.
And
they're just like, look what I have here. Like, and they don't seem. Yeah,
I got a story about that. A couple of stories. So I have a friend of mine. She did not give me permission to tell this story, but I won't say anything big. But anyway, she met with a man from Tinder. The first time she was with a man since her divorce of like 15, 17 years. And they talked about rough sex and all the rest of it, and that was fine. And she thought that she wanted it, and then she got into the moment, and he punched her in the head.
Oh God!
And did these things, and she kind of didn't know. She thought she had asked for it, right?
Yeah,
because she was
that's
having
always the
these
case.
conversations, and she was a newbie, and she kind of. Sometimes it doesn't matter your gender, you guys. If you're going to participate in any sort of harder play when it comes to sex, anything different, outside the box, outside the norm, anything that you're questioning, do your research, ask the questions, contact some people, have the conversations with people, just so that you know what there's even a limit to that, right? Yeah. So hardcore sex is one thing, and if somebody wanted to punch me in the head, that's cool, but we would probably have a super in-depth conversation about how that would happen, where that would happen, where on my head you're going to do that, at what point. These are the conversations you have when you're in
a long-term relationship.
Well, long-term relationship doesn't
a trusting relationship.
Any sort of kink relationship, okay? Because you can have a kink partner who's not your long-term relationship, right? True. But you've had really, really in-depth conversations about your BDSM practices, your safe words, your this, your aftercare, and all of those things. So this happened to her, and then he came, so he fucking donkey punched her in the back of the head, came, and then looked at her and said, "You deserve a shower. I'm going to call you a cab." And she was like, "What the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened?
You deserve a shower? I'm going to call you a cab?"
Yeah. So it was tough, right? That was a really hard place for her to be, because technically she will tell you that she she wanted it. She really did want it. She just didn't know. She didn't know what she was getting into.
And it happened
right?
to me too.
Yeah.
With my whole Me Too experience, which was I was in an experimental time in my life. And I was trying to be the sub that I read about,
Right.
I was trying to do the sub thing. Oh, I'm into being a sub, so I'm going to do the sub thing and just let things happen and not say anything. And then a limit gets pushed.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I should be liking this, but I don't.
Right. Now, how do I get out
And then
of
you
it?
have that after moment of yeah, technically I didn't say no.
Right.
But it wasn't discussed beforehand.
Right.
And that's still non-consensual, you
right.
know?
Yep.
We have to remember that as well. And that can be tricky to.
It's tricky because if you don't if you're going to play out a scene with somebody and if you're really doing that, technically, and you're going to play out a scene with somebody and you lay things out and you do not, and you say, maybe there's consensual non-consent. Maybe you say whatever you want, sir. And if you say to your dom, whatever you want, you're in that dynamic. You have a safe word. You should always have a safe word. Did you have a safe word?
No.
Okay.
This is the point, right? This was such a casual relationship.
So these are the moments.
I was so done. I mean, I'm not going to shame myself for it, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was very confused.
We don't know, right? We don't know. And that's the thing. So a lot of the people, again, gender non-specific, but a lot of the people who are coming in as dom also don't know. They're just fucking playing out 50 Shades, and it's dangerous because they just don't know what's involved in being a dom or a top, right? So some people, I remember being with a man one time, and he was going to belt me. He had a belt, and we were going to play with a belt. And I remember at that moment, I turned around and I went, okay, well, this is my safe word. And he kind of looked at me like, whatever, yeah, okay, whatever. And I was like, this is going to be dicey. Now, I trusted him. I allowed everything to happen, and it was fine. But in that moment, I was like, I'll never forget that moment in time. The relationship continued for a little while. But that moment, that's fucking second, I was like, that's not how this goes. You need to listen, right? This is not just a cool thing where I'm trying to tell you off. We should have had this conversation beforehand, and I'm going to have it right now. And everything was fine. Everything worked out great, and, la, la, la. But you got to have your safe word. So
what's a good
everybody
safe
out
word
there,
to use?
Whatever rolls naturally off your tongue. That's another thing. If I've had a couple of people ask me, and I'd love to hear from people who are in BDSM relationships as well, but I think that a really good rule of thumb is to get your sub to pick their own safe word. Yeah. So a lot of doms will come in, or a lot of people who want to dom will come into my DMs and say, what safe word should I use? Or I'll tell them my safe word. And I said, but it's not your safe word.
It's not your safe word.
It's their safe word. So I get the idea. In context, I understand that, some people are like, I'm more experienced, so I will help you along, and this is the safe word we'll use, right? And that sounds great.
They're taking control.
Right? And it sounds good in concept, like in theory. But the thing is, if you tell me to say, White Claw, that doesn't roll off my... Maybe we shouldn't say that. Maybe that's not a good promo for White Claw.
I love White Claw.
If you say like keyboard, that's not... that doesn't roll off my tongue. It's not my word, right? So ask your sub, and you can be Dom about that. You can say, you need to pick a safe word. And if she goes, well, I don't know, you need to pick a safe word. So you're still dominant. You're still in your role, and you are telling them you are giving your sub a directive.
That I really like that.
Right? So
and that can be sexy.
And it can be very sexy. So that's just that little thing. And not only that then requires you as the Dom to have such control, because that's what we require in a Dom, to have so much mental control that they can stay in the moment. They can't get lost in their moment because they need to be listening for your word. If you give a Dom your safe word, as far as I'm concerned, that is really hot, because that means he has no choice but stay. For me, it's a he, has no choice but stay present in the moment, because he has to remember my safe word. And I need to trust that he's going to remember that. So for me, that is a huge turn on, because he has such control over himself that he's able to do that. I go in subspace. I'm sometimes nonverbal. You're not going to get much out of me until I'm done. Like, don't ask me to remember what you just said. I'm lucky I can get out what I need to say. Subspace is a really big deal. We got to remember that.
Is subspace the after
space, the during space. The during space.
When you're in that mode.
Yep. Yeah, when you're in the mode. And it could be different for everybody. Like some people's subspace is very... you're able to give directives and take directives, and they're able to kind of work. Some subspace is literally like you're just their play toy.
Wild.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And your brain, you go into this like endorphin rush, where whatever's happening to you, for me, it would be, in that moment, it would be the pain, that I'm in this endorphin rush of like just in that moment that I'm not going to remember that you told me keyboard. I can barely mutter a word. You're just going to hear my safe word, and you need to be listening. So you need to be paying attention to my cues. That's really hot.
Really, really, even though it goes against what it is, but the sub, and I've said this before, people tend to disagree with me, but I'm like, I know it's sub dom, but the sub kind of has
all the
overarching control.
All the control.
Because they're saying, I'm allowing you to do this.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
allowing you to treat me
so
this way.
that is the indicator of a very healthy BDSM relationship.
Yes.
Is when the Dom understands that they are giving the directives, but that their sub is actually in control of themselves. Give or take. Do you know what I mean? Again, very nuanced, but like that sub has control over that scene. The second my safe word comes out, you don't get to touch me.
We can take it away from you as soon as we want.
Yeah. And the thing is, most Doms will appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
A real one will appreciate that. If you're with somebody who doesn't acknowledge that you need that safety and doesn't acknowledge that you need that security, then you may want to rethink or reevaluate the type of relationship that you're going to be in with somebody.
Yeah.
They need to really respect that. Somebody who knows a BDSM relationship will know that you asking or requiring or demanding a safe word is just the way it goes. That is baseline, basic 101.
Yeah.
First things first. Talk about safe word, talk about scene. How are we going to do aftercare?
Oh, aftercare is so important.
So important.
I think it's left out so much.
It is.
It's very
and when
sad.
somebody is in subspace and then somebody just gets up and leaves, that can be a really dark place to be in for a little while.
That was me for about a year.
Yeah.
With somebody, and
it's very traumatic.
It gives you deep wounds.
Yep.
That's a conversation for my therapist.
Right.
Serena, is there anything we didn't touch on that you'd like to touch on? Touch.
Well, no, I think that we had a lovely conversation.
We covered so much. I would love to have you back on again. I would love to dive into confidence and like body image.
Right.
But
we talked about a lot of that stuff too. Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking I might want to bring you on with somebody else for that one and have kind of like a round table.
Yeah.
I'm just having kind of thoughts in my head right now where I'd like to bring you back for that subject on its own.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But like, my gosh, thank you so much.
I had so much fun. This was so great.
The last question that we had is really funny. I just wanted to end on this one. I had a friend write in and said, "What did men stop eating pussy after 3 months?"
Because you don't tell them to keep going.
As the bird, you don't tell him.
Just fucking tell him. Be like, you need to eat my pussy.
You gotta get in there.
You gotta get in there. Wait, maybe he doesn't like it if your pubes are not shaved. Maybe you're doing something wrong.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not true. That's not true. But is that true? Like, do you guys have that experience?
I mean, I haven't even gotten to the 3-month part.
Right.
With somebody.
I feel like it's probably the same thing with blowjobs. I don't know. Like, there are some people who just don't love giving oral, and they do it because they, the adrenaline is high and they want to kind of do all the fun, pleasurable things. And then after a while, you just, like I said, you go back down to baseline. So like, where's your baseline of what you really like to do? And then you kind of figure it out, and then other things have become intentional.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That could be it. Or they just suck.
Or they
I don't
suck.
know.
So, the other thing is if you're with a partner and you are constantly either unimpressed, rejecting, or telling them they're doing something wrong, rest assured they are not going to try again.
That's not going to help you,
right?
in the long
so
run.
we need to be really careful on how we approach our partners,
and like I can be the biggest one, but we have to try not to man hate. Let's just try.
Yeah, there's no man. I won't let you.
Let's just try. And you and Geneva both keep me in check with that.
Yeah.
Let's just try not to. Except when I'm on stage doing stand-up.
That's different. That's different.
I can save it for then.
Yeah.
But honestly, Serena, thank you so much for coming on. This was like so wonderful.
Oh, I loved it.
This
I
was
feel like
so
I didn't
fun.
talk about like what I do at all. This was so refreshing. I really love it. I mean, I did, but usually sometimes I'll just get on and it's very clinical. I'm like, I don't need something that's
you just
not
want
so
to chat
clinical
about the
sometimes.
things you know so much, and you're such a wealth of knowledge, and I learned so much tonight too. It was so great. So I want you to take over and tell everybody where they can find you. What can they look forward to from you? What do you have coming up? Just spew
Okay,
away.
well,
It's your time.
you can find me on Instagram at Serena_Haines.
Hopefully not shadow banned.
I'm always shadow banned. You guys, if you want to like and share and comment and all the things, that would be great because the algorithm hates me. And I'm going to have to start doing videos soon. Twitter too, but don't follow me on Twitter. And SerenaHaines.com.
SerenaHaines.com.
you can go to SerenaHaines.com.
Do you have any workshops or events coming up?
So August is Anal August. And we didn't talk about anal at all.
Oh my God, we didn't even get into that.
Anal's my
You gotta come back.
favorite.
There's too much
Oh,
to cover.
Anal's my favorite. So Anal August, I'm going to be doing Anal 101. Just the basics on how to get started in anal. What that is, what it means, how it's not as painful as it sounds, and it doesn't have to be the way that you think it is. It's one of my favorite kind of sex acts, honestly, for everybody. Our anuses, like we all have an anus. So it's like the equal opportunity orifice. So everybody's pleasure feels very similar.
Interesting.
In those
Yeah,
areas,
yeah.
right? Like I don't know what it's like to get a blowjob. My husband doesn't know what it's like to get his clit sucked, but we sure do know what it's like to play with anuses.
We share a butt.
We share a butt. So we can kind of like play with that and like what sensations you like and you can give. Anyway, I digress. So that's coming up in August. And I'm actually planning a retreat in October.
No way.
Oh,
What's
it's so brand new that I just said it out loud for the first time.
Is it a witchy retreat?
It's just like a witchy retreat.
I would do that
Sort
with
of,
you,
kind of.
Serena, let me tell you, if you were like, we're gonna go and we're gonna free bleed under the moon and we're gonna touch ourselves together, I would fucking do that.
Okay, you're gonna write the copy for it because that's almost quite literally what we're gonna do. Shut up. So the idea is I'm gonna get a little retreat space and I'm gonna have like 8 to 10 women, and I have a vulva revolution. So I do vulva revolution, and I've been doing it for a really long time, but COVID got in the way. So that is a workshop where you come in and we vulva gaze. We look at vulvas. We don't look at each other's vulvas. You look at your own.
Your own.
Right? So it's to get to know your body. So we really kind of didn't delve into like the somatic side of like my work, but getting to know your body is really important, right? If you don't love your house, you're not going to invite anybody in. So you've got to get to know your own body first and appreciate it and love it for the beauty that it is. So we vulva gaze, and that's really, really important. And we do breast massage because it's a really important part of your body as well. So vulva revolution doesn't involve any self-touch or pleasure or anything like that. It's a 3-hour workshop, and I do those randomly throughout the year. But this retreat is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to come in and we're going to do some getting to know one another. We're going to do a little bit of naked yoga. Pardon me. We're going to do vulva revolution, but then we are going to transition that into a little bit of pleasure exploration.
Wow.
So it's going to be It's going to be a lot. Yeah, it's going to be wild to say the least. So it's going to be one of those things, and I'm hoping to do it. I have a beautiful spot in mind that I'm really hoping to do it, where we have to kind of travel to get there, and then have some outside is kind of private. So hopefully we could like get outside under the moon and maybe like enjoy ourselves. So it's a little witchy, it's a little sexy, it's a little yoga-y, and we're going to eat some food. And there's like a brewery down the street, so we might go have some beers too.
That must be an empowering experience as a woman to do something like that.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited to do that. Yeah, so I just said it like for the fucking first time out loud.
I love
it. So I've been like, I've got like the notes and all the things done, so that's going to be a really big deal. So the second week in October, that's going to be planned. So if anybody wants that, you can get in touch with me.
SerenaHaines.com.
SerenaHaines.com.
Got it.
Yep.
Go get it and
SerenaHaines.com.
find out what she does. And just follow Serena, because her Instagram is amazing.
Thank you.
And interact with the fucking content so it doesn't get hidden.
Yeah, so it doesn't get hidden.
I thank you so much. Thank you for being such a badass, amazing woman.
Thank you for having me. You're a badass, amazing woman.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having me. This is a really big deal. It's not, I mean, I know that you have like you guys talk about a lot on this podcast, but it's a really big deal to have sex just openly talked about. So much, right?
And in a long form format, which I think is so important because we need to get the context around everything.
Right, exactly.
We do.
Fucking asterisks.
Asterisks.
Like it is.
So
it's
many
a lot.
footnotes.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I love the questions, you guys. Like I do every Tuesday, I have an anonymous forum on my Instagram in my link tree. And you can go on there and you can submit anonymous questions. I can't see anything. It's just a type form, anonymous thing. So you can put in all your questions there. And once or twice a week, I'll answer those, and sometimes live on Instagram. And if you want me to contact you, put your information in there, because there are some questions that are
more in depth.
That would be really nice.
I came to you with one when we first met. Remember that?
No.
Oh,
when did you?
Oh, we'll talk after the.
Oh, okay.
I messaged you about a situation, and you were just like, "This is out of my wheelhouse." I can't.
Oh, really? Yeah, probably. Yeah. Oh, and I will be the first to tell you. Like, if you come to me and you ask me something, I would be like, "That's not me. You need to go to your therapist."
Which is good, because you can direct people.
Yep. Or you need to go to your medical practitioner.
And you're still normalizing talking about these things and people coming forward and stuff like that, which is so great. Yeah. You're just amazing.
Thanks,
I love you so much.
Thanks, baby.
Follow Serena and follow Intoxicated Podcast, everybody. We're back. We're here. We're doing episodes. Subscribe. You can follow Intoxicated on Instagram, Intoxicated Podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen. Leave a review, please, because it's been a long time, and it would be nice to get that back up and running. And we're going to end the episode. We always do. Serena? Down. We did it! Thank you for listening to the Intoxicated Podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast app you use and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. You can also give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Intoxicated Podcast, and check out our video episodes on the Intoxicated YouTube channel. Until next week, feel hard and talk hard. Intoxicated Podcast is hosted and produced by Sarah McClellan, co-produced by Sarah Nicole, and brought to you by the messiness of life.